Hey guys, welcome to the channel. As you see in the thumbnail, what if Ichigo got Squad Zero's Zanpakuto Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more awesome content and subscribe my channel and like this video. Go support and follow the AEthereal Devastation for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story, link in the description. Let's start this video. What the hell? I think to myself. I was just in Karakura town, fighting Renji, and now I'm in some strange sideways city, with 6 odd-looking people in front of me. A samurai in full armor, wielding a blade of cherry blossoms, speaks. This meeting of the 6th Division branch of the Zanpakuto Society against neglectful shinigami will now begin. Senbonsakura-sama will preside. Are there any objections? The samurai asks. There are none, though did you have to refer to yourself in the third person, Senbonsakura? A woman mostly covered in green fur, her long hair a dull mix of red and purple, asks. I have one. You're using my realm for this meeting, and I'm not a part of your society, Senbonsakura, says a middle-aged man in a billowing black coat. Noted and ignored, Zanjetsu-san. Zabumaru, my thanks for your comment. I will now proceed to state the reason I have called this meeting. I have found a solution to our problem, Senbonsakura, as I guess the samurai's name is, says. As you all know, we cannot tear ourselves free from our shinigami. We do not have the ability. However, in one way or another, our wielders have mistreated us. So, we cannot put up with them any longer, but neither can we find a solution. But now, there is a solution, and the shinigami who can provide it is right here, in this realm with us. Kurosaki Ichigo-sama, if you would please join us in this meeting. Senbonsakura asks. Fine, I say. I step forward to join this little gathering, and have the uncomfortable feeling of having other people staring at me. Excellent, we are all here now. Kurosaki Ichigo, you have encountered the hollow known as Grand Fissure twice before, correct? Senbonsakura asks. Yes, I have. Why? I respond. That is why, Kurosaki-sama, Senbonsakura says, pointing to a vast white space beyond the city. When you first encountered him, Grand Fissure killed your mother and left you alive, without harming you. Or so you thought. Before he was forced away, he got a bite of your soul. You were powerful then, and are even stronger now. You are stronger for a very simple reason, and that is that you have been developing that power in subconscious attempts to fix the gaping hole in your soul, he elaborates, causing my eyes to fly open wide in near panic. However, that is impossible for you to do. Besides that hole forcing you to grow stronger, you are naturally predisposed to power as well, Senbonsakura muses. Your father was a shinigami, Kurosaki Ichigo. I can see it in your power, and I remember him from his time among the Gate 13 as captain of the 10th Division, where he was recently replaced by Hitsugaya Toshiro. He was too late to save you mother, sadly. Also, he has lost much of his power recently. However, he passed that power on to you. Mention that you are half shinigami to Byakuya Kichiki, and he will likely either leave you be or let you have a fair hearing before Yamamoto Satechu, he says offhandedly. But we are not concerned with your heritage right now. We are concerned with the absence of part of your soul, which can never be retrieved, which has already turned you into a shinigami hollow hybrid, though your hollow half hasn't yet developed due to not having used shikai yet, and which provides myself and my comrades with a chance to alleviate our suffering under our current wielders. Senbonsakura finishes. How? I ask. I'm shaken by this string of revelations, but I am determined not to show it. Simple. We require a new place to take up residence. Normally, a shinigami has only one space in their soul, and that is occupied by their Zanpakuto. However, that is a relatively small space, compared to the hole you have. That hole destroys any possibility for you to ever control your Reiatsu. But with our help, that hole can be filled at least partially. You could learn to control your Reiatsu, and grow much more powerful than you normally would have, Senbonsakura begins his sales pitch. You could protect even more people. The things you wish to protect are not what we wish to protect. We wish to protect our wielder. But I see no reason why we cannot protect you as you protect others, Senbonsakura continues when power doesn't seem to be a sufficient offer to catch my attention. I am Kichiki Byakuya Zanpakuto. However, he has neglected me. My realm is an orchard, filled with cherry trees. The blossoms, when properly tended, are beautiful. However, I cannot tend them on my own. I require at least some aid from my wielder. Yet Kichiki Byakuya has failed to aid me. He rarely speaks to me, treating me as a tool to uphold his pride, rather than a partner who will stand by him without even having to think about it, Senbonsakura almost snarls out the words. I will give you my power, if you swear not to neglect me. I do not require much help, but I require a little at least. A few hours of your time a week, and I will lend you my power readily. Do we have a deal, Kurosaki Ichigo-sama? I am proud, but if it is required to end the torment I undergo at Byakuya's hands, I will beg for your aid, Senbonsakura says. I don't even have to think anymore. I would be protecting someone. I would keep them from suffering, as I have sworn to do. We have a deal. Stand by me, and I will spend at least an hour a day tending those gardens with you. I will need aid entering this world until I learn how to do it myself, but I will never forget, I decide. Thank you, Kurosaki-sama. My blade will be at your side when you leave. Draw it, then say scatter, Senbonzakura. You must use the hilt to control how the thousand-bladed blossoms my blade will become moves. Senbonzakura's voice is filled with gratitude as he bows. Senbonzakura's armor vanishes, leaving a woman clad in a kimono embroidered with images of cherry trees and blossoms. She lifts one hand, and a stream of cherry blossom sweeps forth into the wide area, taking over part of it, creating a giant orchard, filled with cherry trees. Ichigo, I am Zangetsu. I will not object to your actions in accepting these Zanpakuto, as they will protect you as I would. I also do not object to you lessening this gap in your soul. I just ask that you do not forget me, and that I was here first, the long-haired man speaks now. Of course not. You were born from my soul, and I will never neglect you. The others are here to flee neglect, and I would hardly allow myself to be a hypocrite by promising them shelter and not extending it to you. Can the wielders of the other Zanpakuto still use them? I ask, curious, getting a slow nod from Zangetsu. We're Renji's Zanpakuto, the green-furred woman speaks, pointing to the red-haired, white-clothed boy beside her. The idiot is a decent sort. And we're not sure about you yet, the boy speaks. Senbonzakura is far angrier with Byakuya than we are with Renji. So we're not going to establish ourselves here yet, the woman speaks again. But we'll be watching what you do with Senbonzakura's power. Just to see if one day we might find ourselves in your hands, the boy shrugs. Otherwise, the idiot will get it eventually. He's being really stupid right now though, so we won't mind too much if you kick his ass. I am Sode no Shirayuki. Rukia Zanpakuto, the second to last of the spirits murmurs. I am already tied to you, until Rukia's power is yours no more. But I do interfere with the power of the other Zanpakuto. You won't be able to release them until my power is either purged from you or accepted into you. And will you accept me? I ask, her eyes considering. You could demand that I accept you. It would save your life, and Rukia wants you to live. I would accept you for that, so no Shirayuki is calm as she mentions the idea. I scoff in disgust. If you want to accept me, that's that. I'll manage no matter what you decide, I answer. It's your choice, not mine. It's your power to give or withhold. If I die, I die. But I'm not going to force someone to serve me. That's not my style. Then I accept you. Ichigo Sode no Shirayuki smiles, and in that moment a cold wind blows through the city, forming into a vast plain of ice and snow, dotted with glaciers, bordering on the city and the orchard. Only I remain then, and I have already accepted you. In your previous life, I was your Zanpakuto, the last of them speaks now. A black-haired woman, fine-boned, her movements flowing and elegant, she sweeps forward, embracing me. I thought I had lost you when I found myself in an endless void, only the blackness to greet me. But now, I have you back. I have my companion returned to me. Perhaps not as Shibukayan, but I don't care. You are still yourself. And I am still your Zanpakuto. Nejibana, I breathe as her name comes to me, and her smile is radiant. Blue silk robes wisp around her, and I smile slightly at the lotus flowers and water lilies braided into her hair, her sword at her side as always. Yes, she murmurs, and an ocean appears next to the icy plains of Sode no Shirayuki's realm. At points, there are islands, which I know are dotted with lakes, marshes, and swamps. She loves her mangroves as much as the lotuses that she cultivates in the lakes and rivers of those islands. She'll spend hours in the swamp tending mangroves if left to her own devices. It is good to be with you again, Ichigo. It is good to be with my companion again. You need me now. My release command is. Rage through the seas and heavens. I sensed it the moment you established your realm here. Now I believe I have a pair of shinigami to deal with. I say. She nods, and I return to the outside world. I see Renji's blade heading for me, and I react. Rise, Zangetsu. I command. I hear his voice in my mind. As you command, he says calmly. My blade flares with a blue light, and it takes on the appearance of a cleaver. Then Zangetsu speaks, and Byakuya and Renji clearly hear it from their looks of shock. Bankai. Tensa Zangetsu, he says. In response to his words, a tornado of black and red energy erupts around me. His blade becomes a black daido, ready to slice apart my foes. The Zanpakuto speared. How is this possible, Kurosaki Ichigo? Kichiki Byakuya asks. Rukia didn't give me her powers, she awakened my own. My father is Kurosaki-isan, once captain of the 10th division, I say. Liar, there has never been a Kurosaki-isan as a captain, Renji says. There was, actually. He was indeed captain of the 10th. Byakuya nods. He vanished at about the right time for Kurosaki Ichigo to be his son. It would also explain the human's power. However, his name then was not properly Kurosaki-isan, Byakuya continues. It was Yamamoto-isan, and he changed his name when he entered the Gate 13, wishing to make his way on his own merits. If this is his son, he is the Satachu's great-grandson, as his father is the son of Shibaraden and Yamamoto Tsume. By ox. Don't expect to hear much about them. However, there is a simple way to test this. A keto that can determine his heritage. If he is truly the Satachu's great-grandson, then Rukia committed no crime. Also, it is no surprise in that case that his Zanpakuto spirit is developed enough to activate his Bankai, Byakuya says, then vanishes. He reappears in front of me, and his blade is suddenly dripping blood. I feel a burst of pain, and grit my teeth. He raises a finger glowing green with energy to his blade, and touches the blood. It flares, then the name Yamamoto-isan appears in green light over the blade, with a line extending to it from the names Shibaraden and Yamamoto Tsume, which are linked together. Byakuya nods in satisfaction, and the names disappear. Abarai Fukatecho, prepare to escort Yamamoto-san and Kichiki Rukia back to the Sirite, he says. Yes, sir. Yamamoto-sama, if you would please accompany me. Your great-grandfather will be most pleased to know you exist, and would likely roast me alive if I don't return with you, sir, Renji says. I'm afraid I can't allow that, Abarai Renji. His father has no wish for him to be going to the Sirite anytime soon, so he will be accompanying me, Urahara says. The world then goes black, and the next thing I know, I'm in Urahara's shop with memories of a life I never lived filling my head. In the Sirite, at a captain's meeting. Byakuya's pav. Why did you call for this meeting, Kichiki Taicho? Yamamoto Satachu asks. I have good news and bad news for you, sir. I found that Yamamoto-isan, former captain of the 10th Division, is alive. However, he has lost his powers and is stuck in a gigai. However, he has 3 children, and one of them, the eldest, his son, has inherited his abilities as a shinigami. His Zanpakuto spirit activated his Bankai for us to buy him time to explain. I also noted another Zanpakuto sheathed at his hip. It very clearly radiated the Ryatsu of Nejibana. Given his resemblance to Kane Shiba, and after interrogating Rukia for knowledge on your great-grandson, I can only conclude that it was passed through the soul rather than born anew, I say. All the others at the table are clearly shocked, save for Zaraki Taicho and Kuritsuchi Taicho. Zaraki is grinning, clearly anticipating a good battle. Kuritsuchi is muttering about experimenting on the Satachu's grandson. A descendant. Powerful, and with his powers clearly those of a shinigami? Yamamoto Satachu asks, hope clear in his tone. Indeed. Rukia woke them, but his powers were those of a shinigami. I tested his blood myself to determine his lineage, and his Ryatsu to determine his powers. Yamamoto Tsume was your daughter, and married Shibaraden. Yamamoto-isan, now Kurosaki-isan, was their son. Kurosaki Ichigo, properly Yamamoto Ichigo, is his son. I preserved a sample for Unohana Taicho to test as well, I say, drawing a vial forth. I pass it to her, and a minute later, in green light, is the confirmation of what I already knew. Yamamoto Satachu has a living descendant in Kurosaki Ichigo. Then where is he? Yamamoto Satachu asks. I am very interested in meeting him, my only descendant who has powers. That is the bad news. Urahara Kisuke was also in Karakura town, and he says that his father's will is that Yamamoto Ichigo not go to the Sirite. If it had turned into a battle, I could not have guaranteed his safety, as I would be facing an opponent who equaled me, while having to protect your great-grandson and Rukia from his attacks as well. Myself and a Fukatecho would not be sufficient to both protect those two and defeat Urahara, I say, now feeling the Satachu's Ryatsu flaring. The heat is immense in the room, burning and furious. I am not sure if I will be leaving this room as anything more than a pile of ashes. Kairaku. Yuki take. You will accompany me to Karakura town. You will not be sealed, and neither will I. If Urahara Kisuke peacefully surrenders my great-grandson, he will live and we will leave him unharmed. However, should he resist, Bankai is authorized. Kuritsuchi Taicho, arrange for the Sinkamen and the spiritual area freeze immediately, so that we need not worry about destroying innocent souls, should we fight, Yamamoto Satachu says. Yes, sir. I will see to it immediately, so I might return to much more interesting experiments. Though your grandson will be very interesting to experiment on once he returns with you, Kuritsuchi Taicho says. Yamamoto Satacho is not amused. His Ryatsu crushes Kuritsuchi into the ground as he rises, and leaves the captain's meeting to prepare for his journey. What the hell, Urahara? I snarl the moment I wake, anger at his attack on me being my first reaction. After I take a moment to calm slightly, not seeing the shopkeeper around, I remember what else he said before the attack. My father didn't want me meeting my great-grandfather. I see only one possible solution to such a problem as my father's wishes getting in the way of what I want to do, that being to disregard my father's wishes and head immediately to the Sirite. Towards this end, I roll out of the bed I was put in, my head aching for some reason I don't know, and I start searching my memory for any blows to the head that could explain it. My hands rise to my head, glowing faintly green with the power of healing kitten that I have never learned, and I look at them in shock, even as I reflexively begin healing my headache and checking my head for any injuries in a manner entirely unfamiliar to me. After a few moments of using the kitten to dull and begin to cure my headache, it returns with a vengeance as new, yet old memories hit me like a sledgehammer. Finishing the academy in 2 years. Awakening Nejibana's shikai. Becoming lieutenant of the 13th Division. I heard a name that I attached to those memories, which I knew were mine, while never having lived through them. Shibakain was the name I attached to those memories. I thought over how I could have them, then I remembered a little fact about shinigami. They aren't immune to re-entering the cycle of reincarnation. I was Shibakain then, and Nejibana came with me into this life. Calm down, Ichigo, I think to myself. This is normal, a perfectly reasonable thing. I managed to tell myself that for about 30 seconds before I explode, beginning to curse in languages I never learned, but that Shibakain did learn. After about half an hour, I notice that Jinta has entered the room. I begin to process the possibilities that arise from his entrance and quietly remember the facts I've learned about him. Firstly, he is one of the brats Urahara is looking after, though I am unsure where Urahara found him. Secondly, I'm in my shinigami form, and I can feel my Zanpakuto waiting to be summoned to my hands and used in battle, their power shimmering beneath the surface of my skin as our bond forms and grows stronger. Thirdly, he's irritating and rude, and fighting him will draw Urahara out, so I can unleash a very angry Nejibana on him. With any fortune, I'll be able to drown the bastard for his interference. Besides Jinta's entrance, I also notice that my bed is in a giant field, filled with rocks, and right next to a giant pit. I smell the air and sense something coming from the pit, specifically that the gas billowing up from it is a substance that my memories from living as Shibakain inform me is crucial to the forced encroachment process. I realize what that means after a few moments of thought and silently swear to make Urahara regret this little brainstorm. Also, I must assume from that Urahara really was guilty of turning 8 shinigami into hollow hybrids. Those 8 were my friends, and he will pay dearly for their suffering. Working on that train of thought, when Jinta steps forward to push me into the pit, I call a blade to my hands, gathering Reishi instinctively to form a proto-Asauchi, which will allow me to channel the powers of my Zanpakuto. How are you doing, Strawberry? Ready to get your powers back? Jinta asks. I sigh in irritation, promptly thinking of ways to deal with any attempt to force the encroachment process upon me. My mind is fuzzy from the return of my memories, my brain struggling to sort them out, but nonetheless I force myself to begin the organization of my memories to allow me to think clearly and plan to deal with any enemy action, settling into an unfamiliar stance with my blade, which is at the same time perfectly familiar to me. I already possess my powers and have been attacked by your employer. Thusly, under the circumstances I am familiar with, I must assume you are my enemy. For that reason, there is only one reasonable thing that I can do. Taira, Sanbonsakura, I say, calling to the Zanpakuto resting within my mind, and the proto-Asauchi, now Sanbonsakura, has its blade dissolve into cherry blossoms, which swirl around me as I prepare for combat, the Zanpakuto spirit guiding my hands as the hell twitches in my hands, guiding the storm of tiny blades to surround Jinta and myself within a ring of shining steel. Perhaps you might understand my motivations for such assumptions if they are explained. I ask as Jinta looks shocked indeed. I was about to meet my great-grandfather, take my place in the Sirite, and truly be a shinigami, rather than undergo forced encroachment by the will of your employer, child. So, I hope you won't take me killing you instead of Urahara personally, Jinta-san, I say with a slight smile. I do my best to emulate Unohana Taichin when someone is being an idiot in her division, and hope that I am at least half as terrifying. From the aura of infernal, soul-consuming fires and the screams of the damned filling the shop, I believe that my hopes are realized. Not personally at all, Strawberry-san, Jinta stammers out, stumbling back and away from me. Excellent. Let's get to it then, shall we? Here's a little trick Sanbonsakura never shared with Byakuya. Senkei, Sanbonsakura, I say with a slight bow of respect to my new opponent, following Sanbonsakura's directions on using her power. Each petal becomes a blade exactly like Sanbonsakura's sealed form, though glowing pink, circling around myself and the boy. Taira, Sanbonsakura, is my next statement, and each blade becomes 1,000 cherry blossoms, increasing my amount of potential weapons massively. Jinta gulps and turns to run. He runs right into me, since I shunpoed in front of him by reflex, having never learned the trick as Ichigo, but Kane knew it well, and now I draw upon the skills of who I was to aid in this battle, though it worsens my headache, and I'm mostly running on instinct. Sanbonsakura, do you mind? I inquire within my mind. Not at all, Ichigo, Sanbonsakura replies. I gather the petals together into blades, and 1,000 blades form in a line in front of me. I haven't earned Bankai yet, but my Zanpakuto can still use it, channeling her will through me. I am about to capitalize on that ability. Bankai. Senbonzakura Kageashi, she says in my mind. The blades drop, and 1,000 corridors of blades form, then merge into one corridor, stretching far into the distance behind me. I repeat the statement so Jinta can hear and know his doom. Bankai. Senbonzakura Kageashi, I say, murmuring the words that seal the boy's doom. The blades dissolve, and I am about to attack, guided by Senbonzakura and how to use her entirely new style of combat, right up until someone kicks me in the back of the head, following the kick with a hard shove, and I tumble forwards into the pit, Senbonzakura resealed by some unknown means. The bandage wrapped around the blade. Damn that Hellcat, and we were so close to avenging ourselves, too. Senbonzakura screams in my mind, having apparently picked up on the Reiatsu of our attacker. After a belated moment, I realize who the Hellcat is, since Nejibana educated me on Urahara's companions while I was unconscious, the memories of the education only now sinking into my struggling mind, and I remember from my days as Kain that Byakuya called Uruchi a Hellcat. While I didn't agree with him then, I most certainly agree with him on that point now. As my own poor Reiatsu sensing skills are employed to double-check, I confirm the presence of Shimin Uruchi, damn her to the hell in which she was spawned. As I land, tumbling across the hard-packed ground of the pit, I wonder for a moment if Byakuya's bad opinion of her is assisting in creating my opinion of her, via our connection with Senbonzakura altering my mind. It is certainly possible, as Zanpakuto are usually in sync with their wielders and share more than a few of their traits. No one has borne even one foreign Zanpakuto before, so having a bit of bleed over certainly isn't something I'd be too suspicious of, especially with older Zanpakuto. After a few moments of thought on that matter, I dismiss the idea, though resolved to consider it later, and begin Jinzen, looking through my Kain memories to figure out how. I need to find my Zanpakuto before I Holofi, thanks to Urahara's little trick with this pit. I silently begin to imagine proper vengeances on the traitor, even as I sink into the dark depths of Jinzen, then I appear in my mindscape, and there is no more time for pleasant thoughts, so I turn to business, my will and focus hardening to a single goal. I materialize within the realm of the spirits of my blades and open my eyes, the name of the Zanpakuto in whose realm this is coming to me within seconds of doing so. I have entered the ocean realm of Nejibana first, and oddly I find the surface of the ocean boiling. The water is slowly evaporating, clouds of steam forcing me into the air to avoid being scalded. I hear screams of rage and curses of Urahara's name coming from the volcano at the center of the world and race forth, seeking Nejibana's blade among the flames of his realm, muttering a few curses myself. I remember Ishida's ability to track me through spirit ribbons, find the technique among my memories, and reach out, finding the red ribbon that will lead me to Nejibana's blade, racing through the stormy skies, ignoring the steam clouds as they lick at my skin, entirely failing to harm me. I find the ribbon leading me towards one of the most distant islands, and correct my course, calling to my Reiatsu to reinforce me, guiding it now, rather than simply allowing the power infusing my frame to enhance my abilities. The natural reinforcement is useful, but wasteful. Guided reinforcement allows me to make my way across the skies with supreme speed, making it first to the island, then to the blade. The mangroves try to halt me, but I power through grasping roots to find the blade, tearing it from a geyser of steam and gritting my teeth as my skin burns in the murderous heat. The ocean ceases to boil away as I raise the blade to the skies, Nejibana secure within my soul. My thanks, Ichigo, Nejibana says, and I nod in acknowledgement. Now, aid the others. Of course, I reply even as I leap away, heading into the inverted city next, where I sense Zangetsu, the easiest for me to sense as he is closest to my soul. New spirit ribbons form, showing me the shortest path to the blades of my other Zanpakuto, and I regretfully prioritize, going for the blades by who is closest, even though So no Shirayuki is panicking. More than anything, I want to aid her, since she needs me the most, rather than Zangetsu or Senbonzakura, who are calmly waiting either for the end or for me to come. But I have to do this in the manner that wastes the least time, or none of them will be safe. Many hours later, I am seeking So no Shirayuki's blade in her crumbling realm. Above me, in this dissolving realm filled with crumbling glaciers and pools of melted snow, a full moon looks upon my efforts, the stars shining overhead. Constellations both familiar and unfamiliar blaze down, even as light begins to appear at the edges of this collapsing realm, mere seconds remaining, the realm not even stable enough for me to maintain a ribbon to track the true blade of this Zanpakuto. The sky begins to dissipate, and I force myself to calm so I can make another attempt at tracking the blade, futile as it might be, I must at least try. So no Shirayuki appears before me as I stand for a moment, cursing my luck, forcing calm on my mind. I have found 10,000 blades, limited to merely checking them one by one without being able to use spirit ribbons, but none of them are hers. Leave me, Ichigo. Save yourself and the others. I am not worth your life. I will die knowing you tried to save me, and that is enough, so no, Shirayuki says. I silently curse her current wielder for lowering her sense of self-worth and decide that Rukia and I will be having words, even as I raise one hand and place it on the terrified spirit's shoulder. Not happening. You are one of my nakama, my Zanpakuto, my partner in the eternal war. I will not abandon you, not even if it means my life, I growl, my resolve renewed, and race once more over the snow, leaving so no Shirayuki behind me. I hear her collapse to her knees behind me, crying, but I feel joy from her. He cares. Not just for the many, but also for me. He cares, I hear her say as I run, and I redouble my promise to have words with Rukia as soon as possible. I swiftly find the right ribbon, gathering the last of my concentration to use the technique again, and find so no Shirayuki's blade. It sings with joy and hope as I touch it, so vibrantly that I actually smile for a moment. Then I draw the blade forth and feel that so no Shirayuki is safe, that I will not die due to this forced encroachment, that the last of my Zanpakuto has been preserved, and that there is no more threat of holification. I remember the last words she spoke to me and make a silent vow to re-educate her previous owner using her blade, since apparently she decided that others were more important than the Zanpakuto that was his partner. So no Shirayuki is mine now, not hers. I will protect her and all my Zanpakuto, and in return she and the rest of them will protect me from all who would harm me. This is our pact. This is our eternal vow, which will never break, no matter that the skies fall and the oceans boil, no matter that the world burns, we will stand and fight, defiant and victorious. Let the world bring everything it cares to against me. I will crush armies. I will slay champions. And if the world itself rises against me, it will burn. Return to the real world and find I'm looking at the world through a mask, that I'm wrapped in cloth and a metal block is plummeting towards me. I quickly correct the situation by blasting out of the cloth, dodging the block, and leaping out of the pit. I then raise my Zanpakuto, currently in the form of the Asauchi I originally had when my powers first manifested. Urahara removed my Zanpakuto's abilities to activate Bankai for me with this stunt, and he will suffer for it. Kurosaki-san, how have you been? Urahara asks cheerfully. Can't talk. Too busy restraining the urge to kill you instantly, I growl out. Would it help if I told you Kichiki Rukia is to be executed? The Central 46 decided on that penalty, against all precedent, he says. I instantly grow much more restrained. A Yamamoto always pays their debts, and I owe her a life debt. I will pay it, and she will live, though all the Sirete stands in my way. But then, I owe her nothing and can take my rightful place in the Gate 13, once she is safe. Also, this is a chance to pay a few debts of my Zanpakuto to their former wielders. You still die. Reduce Urahara to smoldering ash, Raijin Jaka, I snarl, and instantly flames surround us, and my blade becomes a katana engulfed in flame. Happily, Ichigo, he says. We can talk about this, right Kurosaki-san? Right. Urahara asks, sweating. I have taken a page out of my great-grandfather's book and cast aside the top of my shihakusho to keep from being cooked by my own flames. Let me think. Yes, we can. If you accept my job offer, I answer. Job offer? He questions. Yes, of a job as a pile of smoldering ashes. It's a hard job, and not everyone can do it. But I'm sure you'll be a natural, Urahara-san, I answer. Now burn, the Satechu's great-grandson commands it, Urahara Taicho, I say, using a smile like Unohana's once more. It's nothing personal, you understand, just my loyalty to the Sirete as a Yamamoto. Actually, it is personal. I tend to dislike people trying to kill me. So be a good exiled captain and die, please, I say, smiling all the while. Wait, a Yamamoto? I thought you were Kurosaki. Urahara says. My father used a fake name when he became a captain. Now burn, I command. I'm the only one in the world of the living who can make a Shinkamen for you to go to the Sirete with, he declares. All Shinkamen created by Soul Reapers have to be first authorized by the Central 46 until Kichiki-san is executed, he finishes his statement. I consider this for a second, then let Raijin Jaka's flames die down and the blade return to its sealed state. Then get it done. I have a Kichiki to get out of trouble. How long will it take to complete the Shinkamen? I ask. 10 days. I will also create a Shinigami identification card for you, so you have less trouble entering the Sirete, he says. I nod, then turn and stalk away to begin practicing with my Zanpakuto. Before he stops me with his next words, at least. Your friends, Ishida, Orihime, and Chad, mean to go with you as well to save her. I won't be able to stop them, but I will send Yoruichi with you in her alternate form to at least provide some protection. Also, I felt you should know one thing. Your mother was a Quincy. You and Ishida are cousins, as she was his aunt. She didn't have the powers, but they are clear in you. I managed to get you the equipment you need to train as a Quincy from Ishida, once I informed of this, if you want to use these powers, he says. I am slightly shocked by this revelation, but take it in stride as it is the least shocking thing that has happened recently. When I return. Not before. I do not need to use unfamiliar techniques, such as fighting with a bow, when I'll be in danger situations. No, I will begin manifestation training and Bankai training. That will help me more, I say, and he nods. 10 days later. Inoue-san, Yasutora-san, cousin, I calmly declare, having sensed them enter the area. Kurosaki-kun, Inoue says. Ichigo-chad rumbles. Cousin, Ishida declares as calmly as I did, as if commenting on the weather. We leave immediately. We have a 4-minute window to enter the Sirite, and we will land in the Rukin. You will proceed to the house of Shibakukaku while I enter the Sirite. Is that clear? I ask, in tones that make it very obvious I expect only one answer. It is, Kurosaki-san. I am. Shihun Yuruchi. I am aware of your presence. I have no objection to your joining us, just don't get in my way when I'm using Raijin Jaka, I say. Very well, we will all stay out of your way when you release your Zanpakuto. We have no desire to accept a job as a pile of smoldering ash. It doesn't pay well, does it? There are swift denials from everyone. Urahara opens the Shinkamen, and we are gone, running towards our destiny. 4 minutes later. Very good, we managed to avoid any casualties. Now, I'll head to the Sirite, will you head to Shibakukaku's? Yuruchi, I leave you to berate Inoue-san for using her powers in the Dangai. Later, I say as I head towards the Sirite, Zangetsu ready to enter Shikai. Once I unseal him, I won't be able to do it again. The only reason I could before was that I endured the shattered shaft. Now I have to learn near perfect Riatsu control before I once more force him into a sealed state, which will require, by Senbonsakura's estimate, at least 4 more Zanpakuto establishing themselves in my soul. Kido is fairly easily within my grasp, but not resealing a blade that hates being sealed. The wall comes crashing down as I step forwards, and the guardian of this gate, Jidanbu, appears. It has been a long time since an intruder tried to enter the Sirite by the White Road Gate, Ryoka. He booms out. I casually reach into my robes and withdraw my identification. I am allowed to be here. I am sure my great-grandfather, Yamamoto Satecho, is awaiting my arrival. As I do not possess a standard communicator with the ability to contact the Sirite, I have lacked a means to contact him and request a Shinkamen. You may review my papers and test my blood should you wish, I say. Yamamoto Ichigo. You are indeed expected, however, since you enter as a Ryoka, you must defeat me to enter the Sirite, he declares. So be it. Rise, Zangetsu, I say. His blade becomes a cleaver once more, and I swiftly block an axe strike. Then, with a single shunpo, I am on Jidanbo's shoulders and my blade is at his throat, ready to cut. Surrender. There is no more need for us to fight. I wish to walk the path of least bloodshed in this case, and you have much blood in you. Cutting your throat would shed slightly too much blood for my liking, I say, making a small joke I drew from Suzumashi's knowledge of her previous wielder, who is a captain. I surrender, Yamamoto-san. I will open the gate for you, Jidanbo declares. He swiftly makes good on this promise, but then I see a flash of silver heading towards him. Shinso, without a doubt. Zangetsu flickers in my hands, blocking that strike and the dozen strikes following it in swift succession. The gatekeeper isn't supposed to open the gate, Jidanbo. They are supposed to die defending it, the wielder of Shinso declares. I leap forth into the Sirite, blocking another strike from Shinso, knock Jidanbo back with a wave of Riatsu, and flee into the Sirite, the gate crashing down behind me, knowing that attempting to meet with my great-grandfather right now is not safe. I need to go to ground, avoid more assassins like this captain, and bide my time until reinforcements arrive. At a captain's meeting an hour later. Byakuya Pav. Jidanbo, what do you have to say for yourself? Kanam Taicho asks. How could you allow an intruder to break the peace? It wasn't an intruder, it was the Satecho's great-grandson. He fit the description perfectly, and his Zanpakuto was named Zangetsu, just like Kichiki Taicho said it was, Jidanbo answers frantically. You should be interrogating Ichimaru Taicho, as he is the one who tried to kill the young Yamamoto with his shikai, Jidanbo let slip. Everyone in the room turns to glare at Ichimaru. Oops. I didn't know who it was, seriously. You believe me, right? He asks nervously. Ichimaru Taicho. We will be having a sparring match using only shikai later. Just to ensure you've kept up your skills, Yamamoto Satechu says. I don't envy Ichimaru at all. But I hope that there will be a recording of the match, just as a minor amusement. Safe, at least for a while. Senbonsakura can't sense anyone around me for a ways, and I can probably trust her. My own Riatsu sensing ability is theoretical at best, so I have to trust her, as she is the best among all the Zanpakuto that set up their inner worlds inside my head at sensing Riatsu. Then I hear a scream from the area of what Kyoka Sugetsu informs me is the 5th division, and I'm instantly moving in shunpo towards there as fast as I can. Kane's memories told me who that scream belonged to, and myself as Ichigo just can't ignore that kind of scream, even if it is another assassination attempt. I decide which Zanpakuto to use, just in case of trouble, and settle on Hineko. I managed to achieve her Bankai and the Bankai of Raijin Jaka during my 10 days of training, though Raijin Jaka did actually give me his Bankai. He helped me materialize him, gave me the blade I could defeat him with, and stood still for me to defeat him. He must really want his Bankai used. Hineko just required a Gigai and an all-day shopping trip as her test for Bankai. I think I would have preferred a fight to the death. That would have been much better, now that I think about it. I have been becoming more mature thanks to influence from my Zanpakuto and Kane's memories, but I am still male, and I have an instinctive dread of shopping trips. Now I just head to Hineko's realm rather than manifesting her if I need to learn something, to avoid similar torture from occurring. But getting to her realm in my mind is not an easy task. First, because he is the strongest of my Zanpakuto, I enter Raijin Jaka's realm of fire. Zangetsu Sideways City and Senbonsakura's orchards are the next realms I need to pass through to get there, and then Sode no Shirayuki's icy land and Kyoka Sugetsu's underwater Karakura town are the last obstacles to my arriving. I go through Senbonsakura's realm and usually spend an hour there, at least an hour as it is perceived in my inner world, though maybe a minute passes in the outer world from the time I enter Jinzen to the time I leave it. After that, I spend some time practicing the various dances of her power, in the actual form of a dance that they take in my inner world, with Sode no Shirayuki, and finally I spend time chatting with Kyoka Sugetsu, who always has tea ready for me when I arrive. I am snapped out of my musings by arriving at the 5th division and seeing a crying Hinamori Momo standing there, looking at Kyoka Sugetsu. "Calm down, Shinigami-san," I say, acting as if I don't know her. "But Aizen Taicho is dead," she replies, sobbing. Kyoka Sugetsu must be projecting the illusion of a body then. "Who are you anyways?" Hinamori demands. "Yamamoto Ichigo, but isn't it polite to give your name before you ask for another person's name?" I ask. I am getting out my own tea set that I have been carrying with me ever since Senbonsakura insisted that I get one. "Would you care to talk over tea, Shinigami-san?" I ask politely. "Hinamori Momo, lieutenant of the 5th division, Yamamoto-sama. I would very much like some tea, thank you. Maybe it will help me to calm down," she says. "Yes. It will. But ask yourself this, Hinamori-san, would this Aizen Taicho want you crying over him, or want you strong and resolved to set an example to the division you lead until a new captain is appointed?" I ask her, relying on the false perception he set up of himself that Kyoka Sugetsu told me about. I am getting the tea ready as I speak and boil the water with a simple application of Riatsu. "He would want me to be strong, to set an example," Hinamori says. "Please, call me Momo or Hinamori if you don't feel we've known each other long enough to be as familiar as first names, Yamamoto-sama," she says, pulling herself together, wiping away her tears, determined to be strong. "Very well, Momo. But I am Ichigo, no honorifics, thank you. Now, is there anything else I can help you with?" "Achieving Bankai. Learning how to use level 90 Kido?" I ask. Tobium only left her due to neglect and doesn't hold any real grudge, so neither do I. She is simply too nice for me to hate, I find. Oh well, I can always hate Kanam Tausen enough to make up for not hating Momo. "Bankai? You can help me with that?" she asks, in a tone of wonder. "We barely know each other and you're offering to help me with Bankai?" "Yes. We are both Shinigami, after all. You are a comrade in arms, and not helping you grow as strong as possible would be neglect of my duties," I say cheerfully. I've grown a lot happier since the eternally optimistic Tobium entered my inner world and created a realm of her own, which takes the form of a large temple that she happily tends, which I usually join her in every so often. "We're friends as well, and helping each other is what friends do when they can, Momo," I say. Then I suddenly have trouble breathing as she is glomped onto me. Thank you, Ichi-chan. Even Shiro-chan has never offered to help me with Bankai, and I really wanted to get it to be more useful to Aizen Taicho. And do you think you'll become captain of the 5th in his place? Do you have Bankai?" She babbles, obviously a bit overcome with Aizen's death, but I wish she didn't express it like this. "I might become captain of the 5th, I might not. Yes, I have Bankai. And could you please let me breathe, Momo?" I choke out through her hug. She scrambles away from me as if burned. "Sorry, Ichi-chan. Do you mind if I call you Ichi-chan?" she asks. "No, I don't mind. Now, where is a training ground we can use to start on Bankai? I ask. She is about to respond when a dragon of ice hits where I was just standing. I call Hineko to my hands. Get away from him, Momo, he could be dangerous. Someone, who Hineko informs me is Hitsugaya Toshiro, shouts. His lieutenant is the current wielder of Hineko. I curse my luck and replace Hineko with Kai no T no Megami. Shiro-chan, he's a friend. And he's the Satechu's great-grandson, she shouts. I decide to cut my losses and avoid this assassination attempt, using Shunpo to vanish into the Sirite. I hear the sounds of a beating from behind me. I look through Aizen's Kyoka Sujetsu, using the connection to the blade that I have, and see Momo hitting Hitsugaya Taicho over the head with a sheathed Tobium while berating him. I laugh silently, amused by this. I then remember how my society of Zanpakuto meets. All of them maintain a Reiatsu tie to each, so can yank the others into their realm whenever they feel like it. When Senbonzakura was near Zangetsu and felt the emptiness in my soul, she could enter his realm and call the others to her. And where do you think you're going? A shaven-headed man wearing the badge of the 11th Division 3rd Seat asks. Elsewhere? I ask, trying to avoid a battle. Not without fighting me first, you aren't, he says. So be it. Massacre, Kai no T no Megami, bloody-handed goddess, I say, and her blade changes little when she enters Shikai, but Ikaku is clearly shocked. I notice a line of kanji spelling out her name engraved along the sword. That's Zaraki Taicho Zanpakuto, isn't it? He asks. I nod. She says she belongs to an overgrown ape named Zaraki as well, yes. Any other stupid questions? I answer and ask my own question. None. I'm Madara Mikaku, 3rd seat of the 11th Division. Now let's fight, he says. Extend, Hazukimaru. He shouts, and his blade and sheath become a spear, or on closer examination, a 3-part pole. He charges, and I meet the charge, Kai no T no Megami batting aside each thrust of the spear, then I strike a devastating one-handed blow with her blade, striking downwards to cleave him in two. He dodges for the most part, but I still draw blood. The blood flows to the kanji on her blade and fills the first of the 6 symbols making up her name. Good hit. But can you get another? Ikaku asks. Yes, I say, and swiftly go on the attack, getting in several more blows. Once I've drawn enough blood to fill the kanji on my blade, they blaze, and red light envelops me. Behold the power of my shikai, ichigo, Kai no T no Megami says. Once my name is filled with blood, it activates. You are shielded from harm dealt by those weaker than yourself, as unless they can exceed your total current output of Reiatsu with every blow, they cannot pierce the shield. They need to expend more Reiatsu than you are currently exuding, which is roughly the total power of a lieutenant, with every single blow to reliably pierce this shield. Also, they need to still have power and killing intent in their blade, or they cannot cut your skin. With every blow, your Reiatsu now extends it, becoming an energy blast like Zangetsu's Shikai Jutsuga Tenshu, but stronger. The constant wave of energy blasts, plus a shield of power over your entire body. Let your foes fear, she says, then starts laughing. I tell Ikaku about my Shikai's power, and he goes pale. No wonder people are afraid of the day Zaraki Taicho achieves Shikai. That is undoubtedly one of the strongest Shikai I've ever come across, Ikaku says. Then he gets blasted by an energy wave from Kai no T no Megami through the next 3 buildings. Senbonzakura senses him fall unconscious, and I move on, satisfied with this day's work. Hitsugaya Taicho, I sensed you using Shikai, I say. I sensed you using Shikai as well, 3rd seat Madaram, I continue. Explain yourselves, please. I saw an orange-haired punk talking with Momo, and Aizen Taicho was dead, Hitsugaya Taicho says. I instruct him to elaborate, and 5 minutes later, I have the whole story. I then proceed to wonder how Yamamoto-san could have 3 Zanpakuto, his Zangetsu, Shibakain's Nejibana, and Zaraki's Kai no T no Megami. I also suppress the urge to change my name, use a Gigai, move to some other country, and never use Reiatsu again when I hear about the powers of Kai no T no Megami. If Zaraki ever achieves Shikai, he will challenge me to fight even more. I do not want to run into Zaraki with Bankai, as that would be a terror I'm not sure even Yamamoto Satecho could defeat. Then I remember one terrifying detail. Shinigami have access to maybe 10% of their own power without using Shikai. They access their full power once they use Shikai, then have their power magnified by at least 10 times when they use Bankai. Zaraki 10 times more powerful than he is now, without the eye patch on. I suppress a whimper at the thought. Hitsugaya Taicho. Imagine Zaraki with Bankai, I say, trying to get rid of my irrational fear of the mad dog of the Sirite possessing that much power. I'm trying not to, Kichiki Taicho. I am trying very hard to forget about what he would be with Shikai, for that matter, he says, and starts shuddering. But how can Yamamoto have 3 Zanpakuto? He asks. I'm glad you asked, Sanbonzakura says, appearing outside my inner world. Due to the neglect of our shinigami, several Zanpakuto decided to ally with him. But Nijibana did indeed pass down from his previous life, and Zanjetsu was born in this life. I am among those Zanpakuto who now serves Yamamoto-sama, and I cannot be mollified by Ikushi, Sanbonzakura says, then she dissolves her armor into blossoms, flips me off, and vanishes. I failed to be able to speak for several moments at the shock of my Zanpakuto making a rude gesture. I also noticed the unmistakable sign that my day is ruined. Matsumoto Fukatecho has a video camera with her and recorded that entire exchange, right down to my expression of shock and dropped jaw. How many Zanpakuto, and which ones, do you think Yamamoto has? Hitsugaya asks. Madaram is grinning insanely and speaks with joy filling his voice. Who cares? All that matters is that now he'll be even more interesting to fight. I wonder if he has Hazukimaru. It would be interesting to fight him with both of us using the same blade, he declares, then starts laughing. I just hope Yamamoto doesn't take after both Zaraki and his great-grandfather. Yamamoto's Ryatsu was immense when I met him, greater than Aburai's. With training and the addition of the ability to use multiple shikai, I would not be surprised if it was now at captain level, growing towards the level of Zaraki right now, as the ability to use shikai always boosts the power of a shinigami. A Zaraki with Raijin Jaku would be terrifying. I think about that for a moment and almost start re-examining my earlier plans to flee Sirte. Then I shove the image of Zaraki wielding Raijin Jacket into a dark corner of my mind. The Satecho needs to be told his great-grandson has multiple Zanpakuto, including the Zanpakuto of other shinigami. There are laws about such things, you know, Hitsugaya Taicho says. You think he would listen? I ask. The Satecho has no other descendants worth mentioning. His grandson may as well be dead due to being powerless. His wife and sons are dead, his daughter is dead, his great-granddaughters are without any noticeable power. He has one shinigami descendant. He will disregard Central 46 to hold on to something of his family. Speaking of which, he will likely be furious with you. Sanbonzakura just informed me that your attack cemented his impression that the Gate 13 is trying to kill him. Now he will have to get that impression out of the last remaining member of his family's head and actually get him to feel safe in the Sirte. You are more likely to be punished than anything else for bringing up such a matter, Hitsugaya Taicho, I say. Ichigo Pav, somewhere in the Sirte. I hear a loud boom, then see the shield over the Sirte form and shatter. Kukaku and her need to make an entrance. I draw my blade and enter Shunpo, determined to reach the area where Orihime Chad and my cousin wait. When I arrive, I see that their numbers have increased by 1. Shiba Ganju, my brother cousin. Wait, in my past life I was my own cousin. I think about this, then shove the thought into the dark corner of my mind where the inner hollow that is forming dwells. Problem solved. Before I can make a suitably dramatic entrance though, with Raijin Jaku and Shikai and Hineko in Bankai, they split up and I fume silently at the lost chance to practice before taking my dramatic entrance before the tougher audience of the Shinigami of the Gate 13. Even in cat form, Yurichi is fast and she is several miles away in moments. Bushido also has a high-speed movement technique and he vanishes quickly, Ganju accompanying him in a Shunpo. I decide to follow and test the two. I take out the black cloak I had acquired from Urahara, put it on, making sure the hood covers my hair and face, and Shunpo after them. I want to see how strong Ganju has gotten. Also, if I fight them now, then other Shinigami might ignore them. Hello, and who might you two be? I ask, stepping out in front of them. Shiba Ganju, Shinigami scum, Ganju snarls. My eyes narrow imperceptibly. Ryu Ishida, Shinigami, Ishida says. Very well. I will tell you my name if you defeat me. Now, fear, despair, know your limits, and do not attempt to surpass them. Reduce all creation to smoldering ash, Raijin Jaku, I say. The blade, and the area around me, erupts into flames. I draw Hineko as well. Growl, Hineko. Bankai, Kazuneko, I say, and stab Hineko's blade into the ground. Ash clouds billow from the hilt of Hineko as the blade dissolves, 16 cracks in the ground spreading outward from where the blade struck. When the cracks are each roughly 4 meters from me, pillars of lava erupt from each one. The ash cat has become the volcano cat. The air fills with ash, and the sky goes dark. Whenever the ash touches something, it is shredded, and wherever the lava strikes, that burns. Stone, wood, paper and cloth all burn. I raise my left hand, and the lathe flows to it, becoming a blade like Hineko's sealed state. I have no fear of heat or fire when using Kazuneko, as she renders me immune to that problem. Lava flows over me and takes the form of armor much like Sanbonzakura's armor. I point the blade at Ishida and the lava strikes, jabbing out from the blade as I stab at him. He leaps aside and forms his bow, but is then set upon by the ash cloud and cannot get a chance to shoot. I turn my attention to Ganju, knowing that Ishida will be kept occupied. He is chanting the incantation to Sakatsui and I allow him to finish. Then simply destroy the Hado with a wall of lava before it reaches me. Bakudo 61. Rikujikoro, I declare. He is bound in an instant and then I turn to Ishida. He was downed by the ash clouds and is bound by obsidian bonds formed from Kazuneko's lava. I nod. You have grown stronger since I last saw you, Ganju. Ishida, work on your firing speed. Otherwise, you will die against a shinigami captain or possibly even a lieutenant, I say. Ichigo. So you are the one fighting us. A test, I take it. Ishida says. I nod. Then I reseal my Zanpakuto and draw another fourth to answer Ganju's obvious question. Suiten Sakamake, Nejibana, I say. With those words, I spin the blade in a circle as it takes on its true trident-like form. In my past life, I was Shibakayan, cousin. In this life, I am Yamamoto Ichigo, son of Yamamoto Isin, who is the son of Shibaraden and Yamamoto Tsume. However, we are still related. Any questions, cousin? I asked, revealing this as casually as I would ask for someone to pass something to me when sitting at the dinner table. None. Excellent, I'll see you later then, I say as I reseal Nejibana and walk away, removing the Bakudo as I do so. Kyoka Sagetsu has taught me the pleasure of screwing with people's heads. A few hours later, at yet another captain's meeting. Seriously, do they only sit around in meetings all day? Or is it just Ichigo? Byakuya Pav. What did you say, Kichiki Taicho? Yamamoto Satecho asks. I just passed on the information Senbonzakura gave me, and now we are all waiting for a response. Your great-grandson has multiple Zanpakuto that chose him over their original owners, I say. Excellent. It shows that he is strong enough to be a proper heir to the Yamamoto legacy. Now, on the matter of him using Zaraki Taicho's shikai, what was it? Yamamoto Satecho asks. Soifan is gaping, and I note with distinct pleasure that Matsumoto Fukatecho has a recording of the entire meeting. The lieutenants were invited as well, and she still has her video camera. I did manage to get a recording of Ichimaru Taicho sparring with the Satecho and shikai out of her, which led to much amusement for me. I'm mused over whether I should show it to Yukitake Senpai as entertainment when we are enjoying the hot springs in the Agendo, the captain's family home. I hear the Satecho ask his question again and snap out of my musings to describe it, along with the previous realization I had come to about Shikai and Bankai when they relate to Zaraki Taicho. Zaraki, you are forbidden to ever achieve Bankai, Ichimaru says, shuddering. His hair is half burned away, but other than that, Squad 4, working en masse, with over 200 of their best working together in a massive effort, managed to mostly heal him in a day from the burns he suffered, so he could attend the meeting. I don't think I could take the stress of you being that strong, he says. The other captains look as if they agree. Fine. I won't bother with Bankai, but I want to see if my shikai is as strong as Kichiki says it is. Don't worry, the kid won't be hurt too bad. Just want to see how strong it really is, Zaraki says. Taicho, he had to draw blood from me several times to activate it. I noticed kanji on the blade spelling out the name, and once they filled with blood, Kai no Ti no Megami fully activated, third seat Madaram said. Interesting, Zaraki Taicho responded. So I let him get a few cuts in, even up the fight a little, and I get to face my shikai. I would think so, Taicho, Madaram says. Good, I'll be going then to find the kid, Zaraki says as he stalks off, Yuichiro on his shoulder. Half an hour later, I'm finally soaking in hot springs at the Agendo, well away from the Satecho chastising Hitsugaya Taicho for his rash attack. I am enjoying it, right up until the piece is shattered by someone leaping over the Agendo's walls and into the springs where Yukitake Senpai and I are. Ichigo Pav. What the hell? I'm minding my own business, then I'm running from some crazy clown who tries to experiment on me, saying what the Satecho doesn't know won't hurt him. Kuritsuchi Mayuri is his name, according to Senbonzakura, captain of the 12th division. I see a noble's home, which I recognize as the Agendo, Yukitake Taicho's home, and jump over the fence into a bunch of hot springs. I raise my head, about to sigh in relief, when I notice two other people in the springs. Both of them are female, I notice. Then I see their faces. Yukitake Taicho and Kichiki Taicho. Curse my luck. Oh, damn my life. I'm not much longer for this world, dealing with these two and having jumped in on them. Then I get a brilliant idea that may stall them for a moment. I reach into my inner world and Nejibana gives me her blade, which I then bring forth into the world by solidifying Riatsu in a similar manner to how the Quincy make their bows, except that I use my own Riatsu. Suiten Sakamake, Nejibana. I call, as the blade transforms. Yukitake Taicho stalls in her advance. Yamamoto-san, I presume? She asks. I nod. In this life, yes. But in my previous life, I was Shibakayan. I retained the memories thanks to Nejibana, and having an entire lifetime of memories ripped into by this kind of revelation is not pleasant for me either, you know. And I was trying to avoid Kuretsuchi, who thought I would be a nice test subject. He said what the Sateicho didn't know wouldn't hurt him, I explained quickly. Ichiki Taicho takes on an unwilling look of sympathy at that. I see. I suppose your intrusion is explainable, even forgivable, then, Kichiki Taicho says. I am steadfastly keeping a level gaze, looking them in the eyes. I dare to ask a question that might remind them of the situation. How do you conceal your true gender? I ask. Bindings, for one, Ichigo-kun, Yuki-take Taicho says. I refuse to correct her assumption of familiarity, as it might keep me alive and retaining my male parts. They help with my illness, and Byakuya-chan just took my example. For both our families, it is usual for the first child to be a son, so we took on the role, concealing our true gender, she explains. I nod, then seal Nejibana once more. I can seal all my Zanpakuto but Zanjetsu, as he actively fights being sealed, while the others don't mind resting in their sealed state. I haven't used him much because he says I should tend to the others first, build my bonds with them. They aren't native to my soul, so I have to develop a connection to anchor them to me before I use him more often, though we often have conversations and sparring matches in my soul. Also, he is occupied controlling my inner hollow, which is beginning to manifest in his realm. I've spent many hours practicing with him and the others in my inner world, taking advantage of the changed perception of time to work on advancing my abilities. Yamamoto. A question, if you would indulge me, Kichiki Taicho says. I nod, seeing both are now wrapped in towels, then return to studying the nearby wall. The wood grain is fascinating. How do you manage to use multiple Zanpakuto? The strain from such a thing must be immense, especially with your level of development being so low. If you had time for your soul to grow more used to the strain, I could understand it, but I felt the Reiatsu of 2 Zanpakuto being released, one of them entering Bankai, a bit earlier. You are the only one who could have done it alone, so how? My soul has been developing for years, growing faster than it would have normally. Also, Urahara removed the remaining traces of Rukia's Reiatsu and used his power, plus the power of 10 other captain-class shinigami, who I assume were the ones he was exiled with, to bring my powers to full awakening. When it was only Rukia calling my powers forth, there wasn't enough to cause my powers to do much more than stir a bit in their slumber. But now they are fully awakened. The reason they were developing to the point where that much power would be needed to awaken them is that I was attacked by a hollow years ago, and the thing got a good bite out of my soul. That is how my Zanpakuto could establish their realms, using that extremely large space in my soul. My powers have been growing ever since, trying to repair that hole. My Reiatsu didn't develop too fast, as I was subconsciously protecting my body from harm. Forcing Reiatsu equal to that of a captain into a human body would have disintegrated the human body. My body's connection to my soul was already breaking down due to frequent exits to deal with hollows, so it is dying. But those years of protecting it, I built up my durability, my ability to wield power. Exposing my body to Reiatsu won't damage it much anymore, due to that buildup. Once I gained those Zanpakuto, my own power went up in terms of Reiatsu and Riryoku. But that durability, plus my power boost, I can maintain 2 Bankai and a shikai right now, in addition to Zanjetsu, who hates being sealed and who I would have to seal forcibly. I don't have anywhere near that kind of Reiatsu control yet, thanks to the hole in my soul, I explain. I see. So you can take the strain because of having been building up to that level of durability for years, and likely the strength inherent in your bloodline. My thanks for such a thorough answer, Kichiki Taicho says. Yuki-take Taicho is clearly interested as well. Which hollow was it, and how did you survive? Yuki-take Taicho asks. Brand Fisher. My mother sacrificed herself for me, I respond, aggravated. I see. I am sorry for your loss in this life, Ichigo-kun, Yuki-take Taicho says. You can hide here until Kuretsuchi Taicho has given up searching for you, if you want. She asks. I nod, thankful. What is the price? I could show you Hineko's Bankai, if you are curious. It's the only one I've achieved, and since Urahara used forced encroachment to assist in awakening my powers, my Zanpakuto can't activate Bankai for me anymore, I say. That would be very interesting, Yamamoto-san. Hineko's shikai bears similarities to my own, so I am interested at least, Kichiki Taicho says. And one other question. Why are you so free with shikai and Bankai? Many of my Zanpakuto want to be used, and they don't mean being used as normal blades. They mean shikai and Bankai, and so I'm free with using those, I say. We have entered the training grounds at the Agendo, and I summon Hineko. I'll be finding a way soon to permanently materialize their blades, but until then, I'll summon them when I need them. Growl, Hineko, I say, and the blade dissolves into ash, then reforms. I turn it so the tip is pointing at the ground. Bankai, Kazuneko, I declare, and stab the blade into the ground. The skies go dark as ash clouds billow from Hineko's hilt, and the cracks in the ground spread out, with lava pillars erupting from the ends of each crack. Interesting. Its Bankai extends its abilities with ash further and adds on abilities with lava, Kichiki Taicho says. Indeed. Hineko is a volcano-type Zanpakuto, you could say. Her powers in Bankai depend on the strength of the wielder. If the wielder is strong enough, they can go so far as to control all lava, all ash. A strong enough wielder could turn a country into a volcano, if they wished. She is extremely useful in combination with Raijin Jaka's shikai. I can use Raijin Jaka's Bankai, but it puts a little too much strain on me to use in combination with any other Zanpakuto, I say. I see. My thanks for the demonstration, Kichiki Taicho says. I'm busy meditating inside the Agendo when Kyoka Sagetsu decides to interrupt my thought process. Ichigo, you need to start paying more attention to the area around you. You have been missing details, and those details are necessary for my illusions. If you don't know how to spot every single detail in the area quickly, then you will not be able to properly wield my shikai. Now open your eyes and take in the details of this room. Also, Senbon likely wishes you to take up painting, as she herself enjoys that art, she says. I open my eyes and begin the description. The room is largely constructed of wood, with a soft breeze coming through the two windows behind me, both of which are open. The hot springs are just outside one of the 3 doors of the room, while the other 2 doors lead to the training grounds and the bedrooms, respectively. There are 2 windows set into every wall, which let in enough light that no artificial lighting is needed, but the windows are small enough that the room is kept slightly shadowy, as if in a forest. The trees just outside the windows lend to this impression of being in a forest. The doors are sliding panels, and the walls have several woven or painted pictures on them of varied natural landscapes, with the 2 at the front of the room being of the sea, one a stormy sea, with lightning crashing down, likely a reference to Yukitake Taicho's Zanpakuto, while the other is of a calm sea, with a pod of dolphins clearly visible, and a whale breaching in the background. Is that enough detail? I ask. Yes, it is. Now you just have to start picking up details wherever you look. Once you can create a description like that on the strength of a second's glance, I will allow you to challenge me for Bankai, she says. Fine, I'm in no hurry to get Bankai. I got Raijin Jaka's because he wanted me to, and Hineko's because I needed a backup, but I don't want to beat you up for Bankai. Instead, I want to grow to understand you enough that I don't need to force your power from you, but rather it comes to me as naturally as breathing, I say. You mean that? You don't just want to get Bankai as fast as you can. Once Aizen learned my name, he never re-entered my world, and once he got Bankai, he never listened to me again. You aren't just going to get power and then just fulfill an obligation to give me company every so often. She asks, shock clear in her tone. I make a silent vow to kill Aizen slowly, painfully, and personally. This day, he has my eternal hatred, my endless malice. He will die, and I will enjoy it. Never. My Zanpakuto are my nakama, and abandoning you would go against everything that I am. You will always come first for me. Always. You are my companions, my comrades in the eternal war. You are my friends, my closest companions. You are part of my soul now, and I will be your guardian against your foes if you will guard me from mine, I declare, making it clear to all of my Zanpakuto how I view them. Kazushini speaks up, interested by this statement. So if I consider my original wielder, who may still wield me, as my foe, what will you do? He asks. He is then my enemy, and I will either let you fight him or strike him down myself, depending on your decision. But I will never allow him, who denies his soul's desire to fight, to harm you. If it is a fight for pride, I will stand back. But he will never be allowed to defeat you, never be allowed to slay you, Kazushini, I say. I feel him consider this. I understand now. This pact, I made it simply to get away from the utter denial of myself by Hisagi. But now I see that the relationship between us will not be simply sword and swordsman, it will be Zanpakuto and shinigami, that of nakama, a relationship between 2 companions of the soul. Wield my shikai as you wish. One day, you will wield my Bankai, I am sure, but it will not be from forcing it from me, I am sure. Now, may I ask one favor of you, Ichigo? Kazushini asks. Name it, and if I can do it, I will, I respond without hesitation. Can I go get some ice cream? I like it, but Hisagi rarely gets any, so I never get to enjoy it, he says, and I chuckle. Of course, I reply, materializing Kazushini. He looks shocked for a moment, though I can tell this only from a slight widening of his eyes. I believe you wanted ice cream? I ask, amused by his expression. I thought you would get it for yourself, not that you would materialize me and allow me to get it, he says. You thought I wouldn't let you enjoy ice cream firsthand. Just bring back enough for everyone and scare the wits out of Hisagi. That is all I'm asking of you, okay? I ask him in soft tones. He nods and heads out the door leading to the training grounds, heading towards the 9th division. Azashini Pav. Ichigo-sama has entrusted me with 2 important missions. The first is to terrify Hisagi, the second is to bring back ice cream. I decide to grab enough of the flavors I enjoy so that everyone can have some. I will include enough for Kichiki Taicho and Yuki Take Taicho. Ichigo-sama is clearly stronger than them, why else would they have submitted when he intruded on them? From what I have observed, females are normally enraged by males intruding on their time in the bath and attack those male intruders, but since Ichigo-sama was unharmed, clearly they sensed his strength and decided to submit to him, as is only appropriate. From what I have seen in his memories, Ichigo-sama has trouble noticing when a female is attracted to him and submits to his power, so I will assist him and the 2 females in noticing. I nod, pleased with myself for coming up with this plan, and receive confirmation that it is a good plan from Senbonzakura. She says her other wielder needs to stop being so frigid and believes Ichigo-sama is perfect for the task. I add on chocolate ice cream to my list of things to get. The flavors of ice cream are many and varied, and I did get Hisagi to finally get the nearest store with ice cream to carry all the flavors I enjoy, from cookie dough, to caramel, to cherry, to mint chocolate. I am also carrying enough funds, a gift from Ichigo-sama, to acquire the vast amounts of ice cream feeding everyone will require. I arrive a few minutes later at the store, planning over how best to properly prove Ichigo-sama's strength to others. Perhaps Kichiki Rukia would be suitable. I personally prefer Arasawa Tatsuki, as she at least has a proper killer instinct. Yes, she would be most suitable, once she learns that Ichigo-sama is stronger and that she should submit to him. Who are you, sir? The clerk asks, as I bring my acquisitions forwards so I might buy them, as Ichigo-sama wishes me to acquire the ice cream lawfully. Azashini, I say, summoning my shikai. Hisagi Fukitecho's Zanpakuto spirit. So he managed to materialize you then? That must mean he's close to achieving Bankai, the clerk says. She is clearly happy for him, but I am very displeased with this assumption. A cool breeze blows through the small store. Someone just entered, and I look at who it is. Abarai Renji and Hisagi. I wish to finish this transaction immediately. I have paid you, now may I leave, I ask, irritated. Hisagi hasn't noticed me yet, but he will in a moment. I grab my bags of ice cream, reach into the link between all of Ichigo-sama's Zanpakuto, and allow Sode no Shirayuki to channel a bit of her power through me to keep the ice cream frozen. I pass Hisagi as I'm heading out, and he clearly recognizes me. He goes white with shock and a bit of fear. I am disgusted. How could I have been born from the soul of this weakling? Relax, I won't kill you. This time. It is more important to get Ichigo-sama his ice cream, I say, then vanish, dashing past him and moving onto the roofs to travel. Ice cream, I hear him choke out behind me. All this time, I just had to get him ice cream. He fought me, he tortured me, and I just had to get him ice cream. He asks, breaking down and beginning to sob. Music to my ears, I feel. Calm down, Hisagi. At least now you know what you can bribe him with, Abarai says. Hisagi just sobs harder, and I sigh contentedly. Now I just have to get this all to Ichigo-sama and the others, and my day will be complete. Ichigo Pav. Yuki Take Taicho, Kichiki Taicho, Kazushini is returning, and he is bringing ice cream with him, enough for you two to indulge as well if you want, I say, making the offer as an effort to make up for intruding on the hot springs. Yuki Take Taicho flushes slightly, just barely noticeable. I wonder why that happened, before I dismiss it. Probably not important. I have a sudden chill down my spine, telling me I will regret not paying closer attention, but I ignore that as well. Kazushini arrives precisely on time, and I rise to greet him. I move to a larger room in the Agendo, with a low table and several finely woven mats laid out on the floor, clearly meant for people to kneel there as they eat. The table is well made, and the room is gently lit, clearly meant to leave people at ease. The only door here leads into the main body of the Agendo, which I was never too familiar with before. I am finally over the state of constant shock I've been in from having to absorb all the information my Zanpakuto gave me on the Sirite, and noticing my surroundings, people, and everything else around me. Ichigo-sama, I have returned, Kazushini declares. Excellent timing, Kazushini. Feel free, from now on, to get ice cream whenever you want. Just ask so I can provide the funds, okay? I say, and he nods, smiling ever so slightly. I then materialize each of my Zanpakuto in turn. Ineko, Raijin Jaka, Zanjetsu, Ruriro Kujaku, Minazuki, who takes the form of a black-haired woman clad in an emerald-colored kimono, Kyoka Sajetsu, a silver-haired woman in a similar green kimono. Shinso, who left Ichimaru for wielding her as a spear instead of the Urumi she truly is, taking the form of a silver-haired woman clad in a steel-gray kimono, her blade at her side, rolled into a coil. Tobium, who left her wielder due to her disgust with her idolizing Aizen above all else. Benkin, who left his wielder simply because he denies his true appearance, preferring to hide rather than hold his head high. Sanbon without her armor at the moment. Benahim, who left her wielder because he denies his natural thirst for blood, much like Kazushini's wielder. Sode no Shirayuki, who left her wielder because she hadn't used her shikai for decades. Wabasuke, who left because he wishes to no longer suffer guilt whenever his blade is drawn. Suzumabachi, who simply feels her wielder is far too strict for her, as she is a carefree spirit. Suzumashi, who left because she wished to voice, and whose wielder I will kill with my own hands. Sajo no Kodaori and Kaiten Kayakatsu, both of whom wished someone who would play with them, rather than simply leave them to amuse themselves in their realms, which left them eternally bored. Kai no T no Megami, who left to find a partner, rather than someone who disregarded her all the time. She takes the form of a tall, red-haired woman clad in a red kimono, embroidered with images of battling warriors, and one hand is stained red with blood. And finally Nejibana, who came to me from my past life, and who takes the form of a blue-haired woman, clad in a black kimono embroidered with images of waves. All of them are carrying their blades, and I see shock on Yuki Take Taicho's face when she recognizes Sajo no Kodaori. Was I really neglecting them, Ichigo-kun? Yuki Take Taicho asks. I had explained earlier why these Zanpakuto joined with me to her. They wanted a playmate every now and then, but they never got it from you. It wasn't that you were bad, it is just you weren't fully attentive to them, I say. She sighs, relieved that she wasn't a bad partner to them. Now, I believe there is ice cream to eat. Enjoying the ice cream, Yuki Take Taicho, Kichiki Taicho? I ask. It is acceptable, Kichiki Taicho responds. But where did you get the funds for this? She asks. Urahara. He paid me many tributes to keep from turning him into a pile of ashes. Or slicing him apart with Sanbon. I was angry when he removed my Zanpakuto's ability to activate Bankai for me by using the shattered shaft, I say. I see. Kisu-chan always did have a bit of tendency to stick his foot in his mouth when talking, or do something stupid and try to get out of it, Yuki Take Taicho says, smiling and chuckling slightly. I have one question for you, why are you trying to seal Zangetsu? If he doesn't like being sealed, why would you seal him? She questions. Until he manages to seal my blade, he has nowhere near enough Reiatsu control to use low-level Kido, along with certain specialized variations of my Jutsuga Tensho. He also needs the Reiatsu control to be able to mix the abilities of his Zanpakuto. For example, deliberately using Kai no T no Megami to use Hineko's abilities as a volcano-type Zanpakuto, using one blade, but also drawing upon the powers of another. I will not be sealed for long, just long enough to ensure he has the needed control, Zangetsu explains. Interesting. What kind of techniques do you mean? Kichiki Taicho asks. She has shifted slightly to be a bit closer to Zangetsu. He speaks softly, so hearing him can be difficult for those not nearby to hear him properly. A barrage of Jutsuga Tensho that uses my blade like a spear to project them. A wide area Jutsuga Tensho that strikes everything around the wielder. And now that other Zanpakuto are supporting me, keeping Ichigo's powers locked to him, he will eventually be able to access my final technique. The final Jutsuga Tensho, where he becomes the ultimate destructive force, the fang that pierces the heavens and rips them asunder, where my wielder becomes Jutsuga itself, he says. Kichiki Taicho is very clearly interested, and she appears to be smiling slightly. I see Hineko has a camera with her and manage to get a picture of Kichiki Taicho smiling. Or was she? I quickly dismiss the idea that she can smile at all from consideration due to her well-known personality. Byakuya Pav. Finally. He will hopefully listen to my request to save Rukia, and once that is no longer a problem, I can get the elders out of my hair. They know of my true gender and have been trying to push me into finding a husband for far too long. Now I can present someone acceptably powerful, of a noble lineage with enough rank to match my own, and of course who I can actually manage to get along with. Yamamoto has demonstrated that he has become much less rash, likely due to the influence of his past life's memories and his Zanpakuto. Naturally, he doesn't get a say in the matter. I wonder if he would be any use to carry my bags for me in a shopping trip. After all, I need to get clothes more suited to my true gender for when I reveal that information and drag Yamamoto into marriage. Ichigo Pav. I feel a sudden chill go down my spine as Kichiki Taicho thinks about something, clear from the expression on her face. I decide to divert my feeling of impending doom by finding some other topic to talk about, fast. Who knows your true gender, Yuki Take Taicho, Kichiki Taicho? I ask. The elders of our respective families, Genryusai Sensei, Unohana Taicho, Shunsui, and Shihun Yuruchi. I have a suspicion that Soifan knows as well, but I can't be sure, Yuki Take Taicho responds. I nod, as that is a fairly reasonable list. all people who are insightful enough to notice, but who know how to allow private business to be private business, at least most of the time. Shunsui always teased me a bit about it when we were younger, even got me to wear the female academy uniform for him a few times as the price of his silence, Yuki Take Taicho continues. The room is suddenly very warm indeed. Well, very warm if from Kichiki Taicho suddenly breaking out in a sweat from the sweltering heat is any indication. I am a bit too distracted from the heat by the fires of my rage. How dare anyone blackmail my Taicho? Ichigo-kun, what are you doing? I had risen and materialized Raijin Jaka's blade. Billing Kairaku Taicho, I respond in a reasonable tone of voice. I remember you being my captain, and I am outraged on your behalf, I finish my statement. Please, leave Shunsui alive, just leave him a battered wreck, okay? Yuki Take Taicho asks. I know I can't stop you, Yamamotos don't turn from their path, but leave him alive and in one piece, please. She asks sweetly. I can't help it, I cave under the force of that smile. Very well. He will live and remain in one piece, I say grudgingly. Then I vanish into Shunpo and arrive at the 8th division just in time to see Chad get beaten by Kairaku Taicho. Flower petals are scattered there, I observe, and the area is slightly battered, probably having been damaged by Chad's attacks. No major damage was done, however. Kairaku Shunsui. Your actions towards Yuki Take Taicho have angered me. Prepare to die, I say, then raise my blade. Fear. Despair. Know your limits and do not attempt to surpass them. Reduce Kairaku Shunsui to smoldering ash, Raijin Jaka, I say. One of Yuki Take's defenders, Well, I suppose I deserve the beating, Yamamoto-san. You are my sensei's great-grandson, yes? He asks. I nod. He silently resigns himself to his fate. In the blink of an eye, a blast of flame erupts from my blade, blasting him into a wall. I then unleash Tomatsu, taking some care to avoid incinerating him. With one last strike after that, taking the form of a meteor of flame, blasting him into a crater over 20 meters deep, I consider him punished enough for the moment. I grab Chad and vanish once more into Shunpo, returning to the Agendo. Taicho is largely fixated on something else by now, most likely. And I would not doubt that Kairaku Taicho could track me here, I finish. Yamamoto-san. Some time ago, I was married to a woman, Hasana. Her sister, Rukia, was adopted by me after Hasana passed on. I swore to look after Rukia, but I also have an oath to uphold the law of the Sirite. So I ask of you this one thing. Save my sister, where I cannot. Please, she asks. No, judging from her expression, it is as close to pleading as she can get. I already intended to do that. I owe her a life debt, and a Yamamoto will always pay their debts, I declare proudly. Yuki Take Taicho nods at that. I will uphold your oath where you cannot, you have my word on that, I say. Yuki Take Taicho, if it wouldn't be too troublesome, do you mind looking after Chad until he is fully recovered? I ask her. Not at all, Ichigo-kun. It will be a pleasure to have company around, she says. I nod, then head towards the door. Should I fail, should she face the Sokyoku, will you stand with me? I ask. I will, Ichigo-kun, Yuki Take Taicho says. As will I, Kichiki Taicho says, almost reluctantly judging by the tone of her voice. I have my oath to Hasana. And now, I find that Zanpakuto, my Zanpakuto and thus a reflection of myself, supports you. And in truth, Rukia committed no crime by awakening your powers, so I will not allow her execution, she says, the words spilling out. Will I be fighting alongside you from now on then, until Rukia is free, or only at the Sokyoku? I ask. She considers for a moment, then steps forward to join me near the door to the Agendo. In my youth, I was hot-headed and rebellious. I suppose that hasn't faded any with age, only been tempered a bit by experience and the centuries of battle that have marked me. You will need a companion powerful enough to stand alongside you and not be killed by accident, she says. You certainly don't look your age. You still look as beautiful as you did when I last saw you as Shibukayan, after all. Had I known you were female then, I would have held you as the standard of regal beauty all noblewomen should attempt to achieve, I say as I turn back towards the door to the Agendo. I catch her flush slightly. Why is she blushing? I only told the truth, after all. I dismiss my thoughts on the matter and turn my thoughts to the battle that is about to ensue. Draw your blade, Kichiki Taicho. From now, we travel as if we are about to fight, I say. I suit actions to words, drawing Zangetsu from its sheath on my back. She does the same, drawing Sanbonsakura from its sheath at her side. We vanish into Shunpo, heading for where I sense Kuretsuchi's Ryatsu. We arrive just in time to see him fighting Ishida, and I decide to step in. Ishida is about to remove the glove he is wearing, but I attack before he does so. Jutsuga Tensho. I call, and a wave of blue Ryatsu slams into Kuretsuchi. Well, 2 test subjects here for me. I'm sure you both will be fascinating to dissect, he says. I glare at him and Ishida rises. Cousin. He has experimented on Quincy's. This is for our pride. We will avenge our fallen kin, Ishida declares. I nod and Byakuya appears beside me a moment later. Ichiki Taicho, are you here to assist me in subduing these experiments? Kuretsuchi asks. No. I am here to erase a stain on the honor of the Gate 13. Chire, Senbansakura, she says. The blade dissolves into blossoms and I tense, ready to fight just in case she changed her mind and cannot lift a blade against a fellow captain. Kuretsuchi Mayuri. Your insanity disgraces us all. Prepare to die. Bankai. Senbansakura Kageashi, she says. I relax and turn, so I face solidly towards Kuretsuchi as the cherry blossoms swirl around Byakuya. So be it then, Kuretsuchi says in an indignant tone, scowling. Bankai, Kanjiki Ashisogi Jizo, he declares, and starts laughing. Poison spews forth from his Bankai, and I find Zangetsu not entirely suited to this battle. I materialize Kazushini, meaning for him to use what abilities he has with wind to blow the poison away. As you will Ichigo-sama, he says, and takes the form of a tornado. His dark winds crash into the poison cloud, blowing it away from me for a moment, and that is all I need. Itsuga Tensho. I call once more, and the blue crescent crashes into Kanjiki Ashisogi Jizo, knocking it back through sheer force. Then I gather my power once more for a massive attack, which Zangetsu didn't tell Yukitake Taicho about. Kuroi Jitsuga, Mangetsu. Dark Moon Fang, Full Moon, the normally blue Ryatsu of my shikai is condensed, packed so tightly together that the color darkens to black, and when my blade glows black, I spin it in a circle. A black sphere, the full moon of Mangetsu, the first and least of the Kuroi Jitsuga techniques, forms. From it, a tornado of energy spirals out, a maelstrom of Jitsuga Tenshos 10 times stronger than normal, the tornado consuming and ripping to shreds Kuretsuchi's Bankai. But that is not the terrifying part of this technique. The terrifying power of the Kuroi Jitsuga is that it seeks out, without fail, all who are my foes on the current battlefield and strengthens with my will to destroy them. The maelstrom strikes at Kuretsuchi, trapping him within it as Ishida strikes with a single, overpowered arrow he has spent much of his strength to gather. Once it strikes, he falls, gasping and exhausted from the effort of gathering as much power as he did. Kuretsuchi is left mangled, but he still has one arm. He raises his shikai in that arm and impales himself with it. He liquefies and a moment later, escapes. I curse loudly as Kichiki Taicho seals her Bankai. Kazushini returns to my side, standing tall and proud. The poison could not affect him due to the fact that he had become the wind he wielded while he was in tornado form. Your will was done, Ichigo-sama, Kazushini declares. Excellent. Would you mind finding Orihime for me? I presume she is with Ganju at the moment, Ishida. I ask. Indeed. We met up with her, and Ganju accompanied her instead, Ishida informs me. He claimed he had grown tired of being around me. I will find her, Ichigo-sama. What do I do when I have done so? Kazushini asks. Take her to the First Division, inform my great-grandfather that I wish her looked after and sent back to the world of the living. She is too gentle and should not be involved in this battle. Chad, I can trust to stand and fight alongside me even if he is a guardian rather than a warrior, but she has not the will to kill that she will need if things turn bloody, I say, and he nods, agreeing with this logic. He smiles slightly at my evaluation of how I cannot trust Orihime to stand alongside me at the battle lines. He departs swiftly, leaping from rooftop to rooftop, heading towards the 9th Division. Isagi's Pav. Taicho, we need to hunt Kazushini down. He is dangerous, a murderous beast who seeks only to reap all life, I say, trying to get Kamamura Taicho's aid. He had come to visit Tausen Taicho and was interested in the matter. Isagi, I hear his malevolent voice hiss. I turn around and blanch. Kazushini stands directly behind me. I will not kill you today, you are not worth the little effort it would take. Become strong, resolved, then I might consider it worth my time. But for now, I require the services of your captain. He is excellent at sensing Ryatsu, and I require that ability. One of the Ryoka has no real fighting instinct, and Ichigo-sama wishes me to retrieve her and have his great-grandfather return her to the world of the living. I wish to make this task simpler, so I might fight alongside Ichigo-sama. As one of his most trusted Zanpakuto, I am given errands like this, which he cannot trust another to do. I, however, am strong enough to fight most foes I will encounter, swift enough to flee those I cannot beat, intelligent enough to carry out my tasks quickly, with a minimum of collateral damage, and stealthy enough to avoid being noticed by many, he says, and I must admit that reasoning makes sense. You wish simply to remove a non-combatant from the battlefield, Zanpakuto? Kamamura Taicho asks. He nods. I will assist then, if Tausen will not, as this is a task with merit to it. Also, I wish to assist the last living relative of Genius Dono in whatever way I may, if possible to do so, he says. I will assist. Arioka's Ryatsu will be fairly simple to track to a general area for my skills. From there, however, you and Kamamura will have to work without me, as I need to do my paperwork, Tausen Taicho says. But Taicho, he is more likely to kill her than carry out this Ichigo's wishes, I say, and am about to continue when Kazushini speaks in an angry tone, cutting wind slicing into the wood floor of the dojo and stirring up the banners hanging on the walls. How dare you imply that I would ever betray Ichigo-sama's wishes? I am a reaper of lives, I admit that, but I am precise. I am the execution of Ichigo-sama's will to destroy his foes. If he should will that someone live, however, they will live. His is the will that moves my hand or stays it, he declares, furious. He is your Zanpakuto, Hisagi. But even I, who am blind, can't see you never tried to understand him. You failed in that, a shinigami's duty, Tausen Taicho says, reprimanding me. Yes, Taicho, I say. I then turn and stalk away, meaning to head to the 11th and find a sparring partner. I hear Kazushini's mocking voice call after me. You may use my shikai whenever you wish. If you have the guts for it. I doubt you do, however. You've denied your instincts for too long. You've lost your will to fight and your ability to kill. You have even become so polite, so yielding, that I doubt you still have a set of balls anymore. They withered away from disuse, he says. I do not reply, determined not to fall for his taunts. Shall we begin, then? Kamamura Taicho asks, and the three left in the dojo begin their search. Ichigo Pav. Do you truly trust Kazushini to leave this Orihime alive? Kichiki Taicho asks. I nod, certain he will obey. I know his evaluation of himself and skills, and I cannot say that he is far wrong. He is ideal for many missions I need done, and he will likely be used for more such missions in future. I notice that the area is battered from the battle, and a Fukatecho leaning against one wall, bleeding. Ishida is drinking from a flask she has, and I shunpo over to where she is, along with Byakuya, who begins to use healing Kido on her wounds. I nod in approval of this. Now that she has seen myself and Kichiki Taicho, she will have to accompany us or be contained for the moment to keep any problems from arising due to not being able to hold her tongue. Kichiki Taicho clearly thinks similarly as she picks up a Fukatecho once she is no longer bleeding and the wounds have closed for the most part. She will accompany us until we have a chance to leave her somewhere out of the way, I tell her. She nods and hands the prisoner over. I sling her over my left shoulder, Zangetsu held in my right hand. Yamamoto. As we are comrades, I would request that you call me Byakuya, Kichiki Taicho says. Then I am Ichigo, Byakuya. The Quincy is my cousin, through my mother's blood. He is Uryu or Ishida, whichever you choose, though he would prefer Ishida, I believe, I tell her. Very well. Quincy, can you use Hirinkyaku? Byakuya asks. Ishida nods, and all three vanish into high-speed movement, traveling towards where Rukia is imprisoned, ready to battle. Knock, knock. I hear from the door to my home. Someone just arrived, and I head to the door to greet them, redoing the bindings I took off while Ichigo-kun was here. I want him to see me as a woman, not as a captain. After all, I spent a lot of effort trying to get Kain to be my lieutenant due to feelings I developed during several meetings with him when the Shiba clan were still nobles. Before I gathered the courage to admit I was a woman to him, though, he was already married. He was the only one I've ever allowed myself to be interested in, due to my illness. I've always worried it would be contagious, but just that one time, I felt I could take a chance. Now, I've met Ichigo-kun, and all my old feelings are back, plus I've seen that he is a caring person, someone I could see myself standing alongside eventually. It may be selfish, but I've given everything I have to the Gate 13 for centuries. Can't I have something for myself? I arrive at the door and end my musings, focusing on my guest. I open the door to see a burned Shunsui. Yu-chan, mind explaining why Yamamoto-san showed up at my door and blasted me 65 feet for any Americans, meters into the ground with Raijin Jaka? He asks. He was here. And apparently he was angered by you having me parade around for you in an academy girl's uniform all those years ago, I respond, amused by Ichigo-kun's actions. Maybe I have a chance now, given that he was so easily angered by my dignity being insulted. I see. Is he still here? I want to compliment him on how well he struck that particular blow and enjoy a drink with him, Shunsui says. No, he and Byakuya-chan are off to save Rukia, I say, timing the words just right, as he is taking a sip of sake from the saucer he is carrying with him, when I tell him this. He spits it out, a look of shock on his face. I take a moment to look away from him, hiding my smile, and instead look at the grass behind him. It's very green this time of year, tended by my third seats. They are so nice to help me out like that. Did I hear you right? Byakuya is trying to break a prisoner out of jail. Shunsui asks. I nod happily. Stop the world. I want to get off. Things are changing far too fast for this old man. I just want to go find a nice place to sleep, annoy Nanao-chan, and drink my sake, he says. I decide to help him out a bit. If you do me a small favor, you can rest at the Agendo whenever you want. I want you to go test Byakuya-chan and any other companions Ichigo-kun might have. Also, if Ichigo-kun runs into Zaraki-san and is in danger, I want you to intervene. In return, you have free access to the Agendo, okay? I ask. So I have to go fight. Fine, I'll do it. I'll take Nanao-chan and Shiro-chan with me to make sure that we deal with any comrades of his. Shiro-chan needs the workout anyways, Shunsui says, and vanishes in a flicker of shunpo. I go back inside to enjoy my tea and wait for Chad to wake up so I can have a bit of company again. I'm not working right now due to my illness acting up yesterday, so I can enjoy my leisure for a little while. Ichigo Pav. We arrive at the Shinseikyu fairly swiftly, only to find 3 captains and the lieutenant awaiting us. I recognize one of them as Kairaku Shunsui and grin at the chance for a little extra revenge and Yuki take Taicho's name. The line of towers along the roadway leading to the Shinseikyu marks my path clearly, straight to Rukia and completion of my mission. I know 2 of the other 3 from M-Life as Shibakayan. Kenpachi Zaraki and Ice Nanao, captain of Squad 11 and lieutenant of Squad 8, respectively. The last one I only recognize because of Kyoka Sagetsu telling me about him. Hitsugaya Toshiro. Hinamori Momo is next to him, Zanpakuto at her side. Hello, Momo, Kairaku-san, I say. I don't believe I have had the pleasure of being introduced to the rest of you, though, I say. I haven't been introduced in this life, so it is technically true. If you could please give me your names if you mean to fight, or step aside if not. I have no desire to fight any of you, except maybe the captain with the ragged Hayori. And possibly Kairaku-san as well. But as for the rest of you, I would request that you step aside so we might avoid bloodshed, I say. A worthy goal, says another voice. This one comes from Kanam Tausen, who is accompanied by Kamamura and Kazushini. Kazushini is carrying Orihime over one shoulder and she is currently unconscious. I too have no desire to fight you today. I recognize Suzumushi's Ryatsu on you and feel the anger that rose within you at my voice. I would presume that you are angry at me for some reason relating to her and I will gladly hear your reasons later. But for now, I wish to get this Ryoka away from the combat zone, he says. I am angry with you due to the fact that you treated her as a worthless tool rather than a valued partner. I am sworn to avenge that, but I will leave that grudge be for this day, as you are taking a friend of mine away from danger, I say. Kamamura, I believe. I ask, addressing the other Taicho here. Indeed. I would presume you have some reason for knowing me, Yamamoto-san. At least, I presume that that is who you are, Kamamura says. I do. Tinkin is among my Zanpakuto. His reason for leaving you is simple. You hide your appearance, shamed of yourself, rather than hold your head high with the pride you should have as a captain of the Gate 13, I say. I see. So my Zanpakuto feels me inadequate because I hide myself. Genryusai Dono was most kind to me, he gave me the chance to become a shinigami. But I do not hold my head high and face any who would denigrate me due to my looks with the pride I should have as a captain serving under Genryusai Dono. I understand and thank you for telling me this, Yamamoto-san. The next time we meet, it will be face to face. Tenkin will never be only mine again. But I can correct this problem, at least, Kamamura says. Good. Now go, the pair of you. May we not meet on the battlefield anytime soon, for I would regret harming you, Kamamura. But Kanam Tausen, this is not peace between us, merely a truce for the moment. We will meet again, I declare. I consider, then toss the lieutenant we took prisoner over to Kamamura. Look after her for a while. Keep her safely in your division. Furitsuchi tried to turn me into one of his test subjects and I have no desire for him to know my location, I say. He nods, clearly understanding this desire. Then he snarls as he processes the other part of what I said. That scientist tried to disregard Genryusai Dono's will and harm you. I will have his head for this, he declares. I smile slightly. My thanks, Kamamura Taicho. I have a claim to his head as well, but I suppose yours is equal. Whoever gets him first, then, I say. He nods, then turns and walks away, Tausen at his side. Kazushini hands Orihime to Tausen, then leaps over to my side. My will was done, Ichigo-sama. Now I return to fight by your side once more, he says. Excellent, Kazushini. Assist Ishida in his battle. His long-range capabilities are excellent, but his short to mid-range abilities require some work, I say. He nods and moves to Ishida's side. Momo then speaks up, clearly unsettled. Shiro-chan, are you going to fight Ichi-chan? She asks. He nods, drawing his blade. Momo closes her eyes, then leaps over to my side, turning to face off against Nanao. Ice Nanao, Fukatecho of the 8th Division, she says, introducing herself. Denpachi Zaraki, captain of the 11th Division, he snarls, clearly anticipating the fight ahead of him. I stab Zangetsu into the ground, then reach out one hand, the familiar weight of Kai no Ti no Megami settling into it as the blade materializes. Itsugaya Toshiro, captain of the 10th Division, he proclaims. Sit upon the frozen heavens, Hyorin Meru. He shouts. His blade gains a long chain with a small crescent moon-shaped blade attached to it, and the air grows cold. For the Quincy's sake, Kairaku Shunsui, captain of the 8th Division, he lazily says, drawing his blades. I square off against Kenpachi. Momo prepares to face Nanao. Byakuya, Ishida, and Kazushini ready themselves to battle Kairaku and Hitsugaya. Break Kazushini says. His blades take on their shikai form. Scatter, Senbonzakura, Byakuya says, and her blade dissolves into blossoms. Snap, Tobium. Momo calls, her blade developing two thin prongs at different points on its length. Massacre, Kai no Ti no Megami, I growl, bloodlust overcoming me, thanks to Kai no Ti no Megami's hatred of her former wielder. Momo, take your battle with Nanao away from here. When me and Zaraki clash, it will be unsafe for anyone below captain class to be nearby. Byakuya, if you wouldn't mind drawing your fight away a bit as well, to protect Kazushini and Ishida. Also you should probably be away from here yourself, as Zaraki might fix on you, and I'd hate for you to be harmed, I say. Byakuya has discarded her bindings now, and her true gender is very apparent. She blushes very slightly, then declares in an imperious tone her answer. Very well, Ichigo. I will do as you request, but you will owe me for this. I am not a weakling, you know, and I can look after myself, she says. I know you can look after yourself. That is why Zaraki would fixate on you as a target. He likes a good fight, I'm guessing, and you are strong enough to give him an excellent fight, I say, truth clear in my tone. She smiles slightly and vanishes along with Ishida, Kairaku, Hitsugaya and Kazushini. Momo. I'm trusting you to be strong enough that I won't have an enemy at my back while I'm dealing with Zaraki. Can you do this for me? Can you take on Ice Nanao and guard me from a blade to the back? I ask her. Yes. I can keep you safe, Ichigo Taicho. You won't have to worry about taking a blade to the back from her, she declares fiercely, surprising me slightly. I raise my blade and focus on Zaraki as the other two vanish into Shunpo. Come at me then. I want to see the full power of my shikai, Zaraki says. I grin and charge. He has drawn his blade, but doesn't even attempt to block as I cut into him, 3 cuts providing enough blood to activate shikai fully. I am cloaked in red Ryatsu, and my blade blazes with a similar blood red light. Excellent Ryatsu. Nice and strong. I suppose I can go all out for this, he says, grinning as he removes his eye patch. A tower of yellow Ryatsu erupts into the sky as he starts laughing. He charges forth, a skull forming behind him, and for what seems an eternity, we clash, his blade ripping through my shield when I fail to block it and cutting me, my energy blasts impacting against his flesh and his blade alike with every single cut. When we are both bloody and our blades battered from the fight, Kai no Ti no Megami speaks. Ichigo. I cannot abide losing to Zaraki. Take my power, I give it freely. Crush him without mercy, leave him broken on the battlefield, clinging to life, sure to survive, so he might reflect in later days over what power he lost the right to when I joined you. Say it, declare that command and I will obey. Please, Ichigo. Say it, she says. I decide to comply, to fulfill her wish of victory. Zaraki. It's been fun. But I can't play around anymore. So this is the end, okay? I ask him. Bankai. Shai Senjixiano Jiku ga Uwari Tikai wo Wadashita Senshi Megami, I declare. Bloody-handed warrior goddess who is clad in death, queen of the battlefields, the red light is flaring all over me, blazing with power. This Bankai doesn't change the blade much, as you may have seen. Not unless I wanted to, at least, I say, then the blade changes shape multiple times as I focus on it. It becomes a double-headed axe, then a serrated spear, then a massive two-handed sword in a European style, then returns to its original shape. It may take the form of any weapon that has ever been wielded, its shape dictated by my will. Also, my improved shield now absorbs half the Ryatsu behind any blow and uses it to heal me from my wounds, granting pseudo-regeneration. So it now requires twice the power to pierce the shield that it did in Shikai, and my energy blasts are 10 times as strong. Finally, any wounds I take, my enemy will receive as well, though those wounds will be only mental until this Bankai is mastered. You cut off my arm, you had best be prepared to lose your own, even if you won't lose it physically until I get full control, though your mind will not connect to your arm until I seal my blade. Besides those powers, there are 4 basic abilities to this Bankai that are what make it truly terrifying, I explain. Then what are they? Zaraki asks, grinning now, apparently sure he'll enjoy the fight even more now. I am he cannot be harmed, I say, and the Reiatsu around me flares golden. In this state, I am invulnerable, there is no attack that can harm me. Only one ability can be used at a time until this Bankai is mastered, in case you were curious, I tell him. I am he who cannot be defeated, and my Reiatsu flares silver. But this ability, I might be wounded, but I will be victorious, and I will leave the battlefield alive and unmaimed, though it might be staggering away on the last of my strength. I am he who is the mightiest of all beings, and my Reiatsu turns blue. In this state, the lightest of my blows is strong enough to turn a mountain to dust with one blow, or to rip a mountain from the earth. The mightiest of my blows is far stronger. But it is the fourth ability you need to fear right now. I am the Lord of Endless Armies, and with this declaration, my Reiatsu once more turns red, and the ground splits open behind me, ripping apart the towers along the sides of the road, which is now filled with craters from our earlier battle when I used shikai. What's happening? Hitsugaya demands as he leaps away from one of the cracks which opens wide enough to swallow him, taking refuge on the top of a tower well away from the splitting earth, and also presenting a slightly safer vantage point to watch the battle from. You'll see in a moment, I reply as an army emerges from the cracks, 1,000 strong. Every single warrior in the army has their weapons glowing red as well, and are also surrounded by red shields created from Reishi. With this ability, all who have ever raised arms on any battlefield, whether alone or as part of an army, past, present, and future, answer my call. They enjoy the shielding effect of my shikai, as well as the energy blasts. Those who use projectile weapons have the blast be very similar to a Zero in form. Their Reiatsu levels are equal to that of the weakest nearby, unless their Reiatsu levels were higher in life. And judging from their strength, the weakest person who is nearby is Abarai Renji or someone very near his level of strength, so they do not lack the power needed to fight you, Kenpachi Zaraki. However, that is not the complete extent of their abilities. Should you slay one of them, for as long as my Bankai is active, their level of power remaining is added to my own Reiatsu levels. I grow more powerful with every one of them you slay, and thus harder to harm. Kenpachi Zaraki, this army is your doom, I proclaim, even as the soldiers begin moving to surround Zaraki, weapons at the ready, ranged weapons aimed to take the first shot. So I get to fight an entire army, and the more of them I kill, the stronger you get. Excellent, this is going to be the fight of my life. Zaraki roars, a white insane smile on his face as he begins to laugh. I see Hitsugaya has moved to a tower at one edge of the battlefield, along with Kamraku and Ichimari Jin. My allies are at the other edge of the battlefield, on their own tower. As I watch, I see Nanao and Momo leap onto the towers to join their respective sides. All of their faces are pale white, and Ichimari Jin speaks, choking out the words. That is Zaraki's Bankai? He asks, shaking. I respond in a cheerful tone, highly amused by his terror. Yeah, it is. Nice, isn't it? I ask him, a slight smirk on my lips. Nice. Nice, it's a monstrosity, how can anyone contest that kind of power, once it is fully mastered? The Saudachim's Bankai is the only thing I can think of that would have a snowball's chance in hell of matching that thing, he shouts. He then sticks his thumb into his mouth, curls into a ball, and starts whimpering. I laugh, highly amused at this. Relax, Ichimari Jin. You're not my opponent today, I tell him, keeping a careful eye of Zaraki for signs of him trying to bypass my army, and he somehow drags his composure together and stands up, but he is still shaking like a leaf. Excuse me my moment of absolute terror at the thought of Zaraki having a Bankai with that much power. It disturbed our own battles and drew us all here to find out which of you two was releasing that power. Wait a moment, Jin says in the tone of someone who just attained a horrifying epiphany, his skin paling to near transparency. If a captain was the weakest nearby, you would have to have at least twice their level of strength to kill a single soldier of yours, right? I nod, and a howl of absolute despair rises from his throat as he assumes the fetal position, puts his thumb in his mouth, and starts whimpering. I watch his antics with amusement for a moment, then shake my head furiously. I'm fighting, and I need to beat Zaraki, not make Ichimari Jin catatonic with terror, even if it would amuse me greatly. Enough talk, I have just one more thing to say, I say quietly, my voice rising as I speak, my full focus on Zaraki. My soldiers, my army, your foe is Kenpachi Zaraki. Charge. I command, and with a mighty warcry, my army charges, firing blasts of power, which Zaraki bats aside with a roar of glee, his own power rendering them useless, and he charges into the fray. For what seems an hour, but is merely minutes, the battle rages. Finally, a gap has formed in my army, where Zaraki stands, battered, bleeding, and having the time of his life. This is a warrior's paradise. He shouts happily, his grin so wide it's practically taken over his face. No end of opponents to fight, and they aren't weaklings either, he roars out, laughing like the madman he is in satisfaction, calming himself a moment later as he prepares for another attack from my army. However, I think I've given him enough time enjoying his fight with my soldiers, and now it's time to finish this fight. Zaraki may act mad, but he is extremely cunning and will put that cunning to use against me given half a chance. I materialize Zanpakuto's blade, having gathered enough power now from the fallen soldiers of my summoned horde to end this fight with one decisive blow. I cannot afford to do anything less, as I have spent too much of my reserves on Bankai already, and I need to ration my power if I want to succeed in extracting Rukia from the Sirite. With a burst of Reiatsu-driven speed, I flash past him, even as he lashes out futilely at where I was just a heartbeat before as I move past him, my blade cleaving deeply into his torso, then withdrawing from the wound as I pass, mindful of Kai no T no Megami's wish to leave him alive. Cutting him in half would possibly kill him, after all. I sheathe Zanpakuto at my side and speak, even as Zaraki slowly topples, softly laughing all the while. "You're slow." Even at falling, I declare, and with a click the blade is sheathed and Zaraki is on the ground, lying in a pool of blood. "You win, Ichigo. This time. But we're having another fight to the death soon," he chokes out through a mouthful of blood, falling unconscious. I smile slightly, satisfied with the outcome of this battle, which gave me a measure to my strength. I enjoyed that fight and will welcome a repeat whenever Zaraki desires one. Once Zaraki falls unconscious, I feel some kind of kidm or something latch onto me and immediately blast out as much spiritual power as I can, blanketing everywhere within a kilometer with my energy. That kidm had to be a short-range one given how well it's latched onto my soul, and I mean to find whoever cast it. I calm my mind from the automatic fight-or-flight reactions and slowly begin to scan for anyone less powerful than I am within my range of detection. "What are you doing, Ichigo?" Kamraku asks curiously. "Searching for whoever cast the kidm on me the moment I defeated Zaraki," I reply. "It didn't possess the power signature of any of you, so there's someone hiding, and I mean to find them if I have to level everything in my way until I do. Go looking at the monument to dead captains. You'll find them there, or their name at least," Kamraku replies, looking wary even as I continue scanning the area with my eyes for the enemy. I didn't think that just beating Zaraki would be enough, but apparently it is. "Hail, Kenpachi Yamamoto, 12th bearer of that title," he says, and I look at him in confusion. That kidm was an ancient curse placed on all Kenpachi, made to transfer from one to another as the previous bearer dies. It turns them into better warriors, though its side effects are numerous and mostly unpleasant, he continues. "How long will it take to affect me?" I ask, and Kamraku sighs, the other people here backing away. He stands his ground however, even as thoughts of bloodshed begin to float through my mind. "It will begin to hit you immediately, at least in small amounts. It will make you thirstier for battle, hungrier for blood. However, what's affecting you now is the seed of the curse, which will take years to flower, both growing with your power and being suppressed by it. It's not going to be easy to control it once it gets to the point where it's at full strength. I've seen pacifists become mad dogs under the curse. You're the 12th Kenpachi if you survive and maintain something vaguely resembling self-control, even when the curse is at full power. If you succeed, you will retain the title. If you fail, you will join the dozens who have died because of this curse," Kamraku states. "I see," I reply as I turn to Kairaku and Ichimaru, reaching out with my right hand and pulling with my Reiatsu. Zanpakuto responds to my call and flies to my hand from where I left it, on top of one of the towers. Kai no T no Megami's Bankai is still active, and I raise the blade to Zaraki in a salute. I may despise him for his treatment of his Zanpakuto that led her to flee into my soul, but I respect him for his strength. "I hope you survive the curse," Kamraku says even as I sheath Kai no T no Megami, Bankai still active just in case. "Thank you very much," a new voice says, a small pink-haired girl appearing in a flicker of shunpo. "Ken-chan had a lot of fun fighting you, so survive, okay Ichi?" the girl asks. After all, Ken-chan would be sad if you died before your rematch. "Of course I'll survive," I assure her. "What's your name, by the way?" I ask. I don't remember her from my time as Kain, though I feel I have seen her before, or someone like her. She wears the armband of the 11th Division Lieutenant and is displaying significant strength, easily lifting Zaraki on her shoulders. I can probably beat her, even tired as I am, but no sense starting an unnecessary fight. "I'm Kusajishi Ichiru," the girl replies. "Later, Ichi," she says, then leaps away towards the 4th, Zaraki on her shoulders. "Interesting girl," I muse, then turn towards the group of Gate 13 officers, hand falling to a blade. I need to attempt intimidation, as combat is not the best idea right now. I have already spent too much power today, and must rest and eat before I try and face such a large group of high-level shinigami. "Alright, who's next?" I ask them, giving no sign of weakness, and Ichimaru responds a bit too quickly. "Not me. I have paperwork to do, thank you very much." A lot of it, and I can't leave my duty for a single fight, no matter how much fun it would be. You understand, right? Please understand, I'd love to face that monstrosity of a Bankai, but I have a lot of work to do, and duty has to come first, he says, backing away slowly, smile still on his face, even though a bit of sweat is clear on his forehead. I understand completely. Please, feel free to go find a nice excuse for your cowardice, I respond, personally relieved that there is one less opponent that may be facing me today. I like my odds better now, with one less captain present. Then I turn to Kamraku, hoping the bluff I'm pulling will work against him. With Kai no Ti no Megami, I could win, but it would take too long and be too risky for me to be comfortable with it. I'm just here to enjoy watching a good fight and drink a little sake, Kairaku says, getting out a saucer of sake and starting to drink. You wouldn't fight a drunk man, would you? He asks, apparently desperate. I snarl in false frustration, trying to keep up the mask of someone thirsting for battle, but inwardly relieved that my bluff in working. We'll fight you, Ichigo, Ikaku calls, and I curse mentally. However, he'll require less power than the captains would, so I can do this, though I'm unhappy about wasting power. I turn to look at him, seeing that he and Renji stand at the end of the road, blades in shikai. I grin and change which ability of my Bankai I am using, preferring to get this over with as quickly as possible. I am he who is the mightiest of all beings, I proclaim, and strength fills my limbs, refreshing my tired body. With a warcry on my lips and feral joy in my heart, I charge, a howl of savage delight filling the air. For now, I'll forget my tiredness and simply defeat these two. Then, using the display of my power, I'll convince the other foes here to flee, and I can make my way to Rukia more easily. We're not going to win, I think to myself despairingly, mentally cursing Ikaku for dragging me into this, especially since it will anger the Saudichan. I know the former fact very quickly, as Yamamoto's charge reaches us before I can blink, and I barely dodge his overhead swing, and the latter fact is obvious from anyone who knows about Ichimaru Tachim attacking Yamamoto a few days ago. I leap away to get a bit of distance, meaning to run through some strategic options to lose with a minimum of damage taken, and am utterly horrified as I see what Yamamoto's attack did. The steps, reinforced to take whatever can be thrown at them and remain intact, with Sekiseki stone mixed in to nullify Ryatsu, were damaged, a meter-deep trench smashed into them, and going up for at least half a kilometer. I whimper at this display of strength. Ikaku leaps over to join me, Hazukimaru at the ready. We won't beat the Bankai without luck and power. I hate to do this, but I need to at least give a good accounting of myself, he says, a scowl on his face. I nod, fully in agreement and utterly despising his insistence on continuing the fight while we might be able to flee. In unison, we declare our next move, hoping it will be enough. Yamamoto has to be tiring by now, right? Bankai. We roar out, and two tornadoes of Ryatsu erupt around us, leaving Ikaku's giant set of blades and my immense whip-like Bankai in our hands when they die down, the whip-like bone serpent unleashing roar that is a mixture of hiss and screech, the head glaring at my opponent. Brahman Hazukimaru, Ikaku says, his words a declaration of resistance. Heiyo's Abimaru, I growl, terrified of the Bankai which took down Zaraki, but determined not to show it. Besides, both myself and him are using recently attained Bankai, and Ikaku has experience with his Bankai, so we should be able to win now, right? I lift my Bankai and bring it down towards Yamamoto with a strike meant to crush him into the ground. He lifts his free hand, extends his index finger, and stops my attack cold, recoil smashing into me, making me grit my teeth in pain from the backlash of the stopped blow. I go into shock, disbelieving. Did I just see that, or was I dreaming? Ikaku asks, equally shocked. I saw it too, and I wish I was dreaming. He stopped a Bankai with one finger, I reply glumly. We're dead. We are so dead, I think to myself, resolved to die on my feet. Yamamoto starts laughing, clearly amused at our pathetic efforts and preparing to destroy us. However, just when we're resigned to our obliteration, the cavalry arrives by some miracle. Zaraki had brought the entirety of his division, or rather all those who are in the Sirte, to witness the battle, probably to give a good estimation of his Shikai's strength. They can at least be cannon fodder, buy us time to escape from Yamamoto. However, a moment later that assumption is corrected as they draw their blades and turn towards Ikaku and myself, Yumichika stepping forward and speaking, and his words horrify me utterly. Yamamoto Ichigo. You have defeated the Kenpachi in battle, with at least 200 witnesses from his division. All hail Kenpachi Yamamoto, captain of the 11th division. He shouts, and a roar of assent rises from the ranks of our new foes. Stand out of my way. I want to see what these two Bankai can do, Yamamoto says, and I quietly curse, having hoped he and the 11th would get in each other's ways. The shinigami of Ikaku's division nod however, and leave the battlefield, taking up positions along the towers on the side of this road. Fortunately, Yuichiro has taken Zaraki away from here, so at least he won't get caught in the crossfire. I am he who cannot be defeated, Yamamoto says. His Reiatsu turns silver, and I curse my luck, curse Zaraki's Bankai, and curse the universe in general. Now we're facing an invincible warrior who may as well be invulnerable, given how much Reiatsu it takes to pierce his shield, that being Reiatsu we don't have. Ikaku charges, but apparently Kenpachi Yamamoto is ready and expecting the flurry of blows from Ikaku. He blocks each strike from Ikaku one-handed, grinning like Zaraki. Nice Reiatsu. This is getting fun, Ikaku my friend, he says, and horror envelops me as I realize that he's amused by our efforts to fight him, but that he's able to defeat us with ease. Ikaku laughs. Good. I'd hate to disappoint you, Kenpachi, he says, striking again. He then leaps back and starts spinning his blades over his head to awaken his Bankai, his Reiatsu building up as a red aura burns around him. Once the dragon crest on the axe fills up all the way, Ikaku charges once more, ready to strike with all his might, clearly meaning to win this with one blow. Yamamoto speaks once more, activating another ability of his Bankai. I am he who is the mightiest of all beings, he declares. His Reiatsu flares blue, and he meets Ikaku strength for strength. Ikaku goes flying, and Yamamoto raises his free hand to shield his eyes. I'd say that he'll land somewhere around District 60 of the Rukongai, he says. I whimper, turn to run away, and find Kichiki Taicho behind me. Abarai. Your Bankai is new, unmastered. It is not worthy to face a warrior of that caliber, he says. Then I notice her breasts. Wait a moment. Kichiki Taicho is female. What the hell? I see you have noticed my true gender. Now, I will be your opponent, she says. Why are you obeying Yamamoto? I ask. He told you to take a fight elsewhere, and you obeyed him for some inexplicable reason. Then, when he's facing an unmastered Bankai, you step in to save him the trouble of facing an unworthy warrior and take the fight on your own shoulders, I accuse. What's with that? I demand, indignant at her attacking me. I'm her lieutenant, after all. Abarai, Ichigo is of a family higher in rank than mine, specifically of the Yamamoto. Also, so far his commands have made sense, Byakuya chastises me, her tone biting. Finally, there is one last reason I will mention, since he is too busy talking to his new fifth seat to notice, she continues quietly, and I pay very careful attention, hoping to get some answer that will get me out of this mess. The elders of my family have been pushing me to marry and provide an heir to the family, as my gender is known to them, and my last marriage was to a woman, which naturally provided no heirs. Ichigo is so far the only one I have found who fits my criteria for a husband, possessing both spiritual and political power. He will be mighty, perhaps even the next Saudachim. The elders cannot deny that he is suitable as my husband and thus head of the clan, as our clan doesn't allow a female leader if she has a husband. So, if I manage to win his favor and attention now, it will be far simpler to get his agreement in marrying me, though I am naturally not above tricking him into it, she says, and I'm momentarily shocked by her words. Why would she try and trick someone into marrying her? However, her next words make the reason very clear indeed. If I do not marry Ichigo, then the elders will force a marriage to Amida Fukudachim of the second squad to get his money added to the clan coffers, she says, causing me to gag at the thought of Amida and Byakuya together and instantly make up my mind. I also consider how much drinking I will have to do to erase the bad mental images from my memory and hope Ranjiku is up for a drinking spree, no questions asked. However, first I need to save myself. I wish you and Yamamoto Taicho all the happiness that is possible, I say, hoping against hope that I can get away. Now, if I could be allowed to go find a nice place to hide until Yamamoto forgets about me. I ask hopefully, but I don't have much expectation of getting a favorable response to my question, considering the amused smirk on Byakuya's face. No, she replies. However, I thank you for your good wishes. Chire, Senbonsakura, she declares, turning serious as her blade dissolves into blossoms. Then I hear a very welcome voice, which I dare hope is my salvation. Nami katagatoku waga tate tenaire, Ikazuchi katagatoku waga yeba tenaire, Sajo no kodawari, Yuki take tachm says from behind me, his voice strong, though different from the last time I heard it for some reason. Curious, I turn around and get another nasty surprise. Yuki take Taicho is a female as well, and she has a smirk on her lips as well, similar to that of Byakuya. Yuki take Taicho, you arrived just in time, I say, smiling, my mouth running on autopilot for some stupid reason, right up until I have to dodge a strike from her, which jolts me out of my shock at her true gender, and instead sends me into a slight panic, though naturally, as lieutenant of the 6th Division, I keep my cool head and prepare for combat. The world hates me, doesn't it? I ask the uncaring skies, showing my preparation for combat and my pure awesome state of utter calm. A moment later, as he roars towards me with his blade drawn, aura of power flaring around him with entirely too much strength for my comfort, I acknowledge the arrival of Yamamoto to this fight as confirmation of my statement. His blade comes hurtling towards me, and I don't dodge fast enough, the flat of his sword smashing into my side and probably doing internal damage. Seriously, it feels like a mountain just grew a fist and decided to hit me. Besides that though, I get caught by the winds made by the strength of the strike and hurtled, Bankai and all, halfway across the Sirte, wind tearing at my robes from the speed of my travel, ending my flight with a crash through the roof of Division 4. Naturally, given the world's newly declared hatred for me, I land right in Unohana Taicho's room, most of my clothes ripped off by the travel. In fact, I'm only wearing my sandals and socks. I know that in normal circumstances, it would be near impossible for me to sneak out of the fort without being noticed and humiliated by my escape. However, abnormally and unluckily for me, when I land, Unohana is in the middle of changing her clothes, since her other clothes were badly bloodstained. I notice as I see her laundry hamper, which I landed directly beside. Sadly, I landed in exactly the right place to get a good look at her, and I know I am doomed for what I have seen, that being the extremely sadistic captain of the 4th Division, wearing only her birthday suit. Without much hope, I check to see if my Bankai is available and notice that my battering caused it to seal itself, becoming a simple katana again. Curse my luck, I silently say, as there is absolutely no chance of me releasing Bankai again in time to preserve my life. Well, what do we have here? Unohana asks no one in particular, smiling her usual, evil smile. A pervert trying to peep on me while I'm changing and crashing through the roof? I'm very disappointed, Obrai-kun. It seems you require discipline, she almost purrs. What kind of discipline? I ask in hopes of distracting her long enough to escape. I think that you being a pervert was caused by you being a male. So I'll just use a small kid of mine to make you a girl, then I'll think about it. That one Shikima Mayuri-san has been keeping for study has been rather lonely, she muses. Yes, I think that would be perfect. Relax though, I won't let you die. Perhaps I should introduce you to a few Sukubi I know after that. I met them some time ago, during a lull in the usual conflicts between the demon kindreds and us shinigami. They're into S&M, whatever that is. They were excellent company for me, and I'm sure they'll be able to replace any bad memories from your time with a Shikima with good ones, she continues, and I panic. No. I say, and run for my life. Right now, I don't care if everyone in the Gate 13 sees me in just my sandals. I can't endure that kind of torment. Becoming a woman would be bad enough, I can't be thrown to a bunch of demons on top of that. Ichigo Pav. That was fun, I say to myself, returning Kai no Ti no Megami to her sealed state, breathing out quietly, exhausted, but determined not to show it. I sheath my Zanpakuto and turn back to where Yumichika was standing, to find him arguing with Momo for some reason. He's captain of Division 5, not 11, Peacock. She shouts, her face flushed. I saw him first, so my division has dibs on him. Besides, you still have a living captain, and we don't. She shrieks, shaking her fist at him. As the strongest warrior in the Sirte, he's Kenpachi and captain of Division 11, Crybaby. He shouts right back, his face red with anger. Even if Zaraki is still alive, Yamamoto is the rightful captain of our division by right of strength, so you'll just have to take Zaraki instead. 5 is his true division. Momo screams, her temper mounting. 11. Yumichika shrieks right back, my head starting to ache from the volume of their argument. 5. 11. Sake, Fujikujaku. 5. Hajik, Tobium. They have come to drawn shikai, I absent Linitus as the flares of Ryatsu rise from the group, pressing against me more than they really should, and I consider vacating the battlefield. 8. Kumraku chimes in. He can replace me, and I can relax in Division 5, where my only concern will be dealing with students of the academy, he suggests. Then with a flare of power, he releases his Zanpakuto to add force to his argument, though it backfires, both Yumichika and Momo, turning angrily towards him. Ana K's Midarate, Kashin Naki, 10th Midarate, Tenma Warao, Kaiten Kayakatsu, Kumraku declares, flourishing the twin scimitars of his shikai proudly, as his blades take their shikai form. However, the argument between them coming to drawn blades isn't really something I can afford to waste energy on right now, so I feign loss in interest in their little spat and turn to talk to Yukitake, being careful to exude enough energy that it doesn't seem like I'm as tired as I actually am. Why are you here, Yukitake Taicho? I ask, curious and hoping to buy enough time for the fight to distract Kumraku, Yumichika, and Momo from me, quietly retrieving Rukia and fleeing the area so as to get this mission over and done with. Please, use Shkurm. Captains don't need to be so formal with each other, Ichigo-kun, she says. Very well, Shkurm-chan, I say. She very clearly blushes, puzzling me slightly. We're on a battlefield, and she's blushing like a maiden, rather than paying attention to her surroundings like the seasoned captain she is. For a few moments I wonder if that could be important. No, it probably isn't important, I decide a moment later. She's probably just confident that Kamraku, one of her oldest friends, will see to it that the line of fire doesn't veer in her direction, and is thankful for his chivalry or possibly embarrassed by my assuming familiarity. Thus reassured that there is minimal danger, I dismiss the idea, returning to my previous question. I came here to find out who was using Bankai, Ichigo-kun, she says. I nod. That is reasonable enough to be plausible, as the energy was clearly detectable by most people with experience using Reiatsu. I'll go back and wait for Chad-san to wake up now, but I'll be seeing you later, Ichigo-kun, she says, and vanishes in Shunpo. I turn back to the argument. Momo, I say, distracting the girl from the fight, deciding that there's no point in continuing this argument right now, as I can feel other shinigami with significant power approaching the area. I am in no condition at the moment to retrieve Rukia and fight my way out of here, while taking her with me. So, I need to effect a more covert escape, and one is directly presented to me. Yes, Ichi-chan. She asks cheerfully, a smile on her face and what appear to be sparkles in her eyes. If you would please get me to Division 5, I'd be thankful. I could use some rest and food right now, especially since that Bankai took a lot out of me, I say. She nods, and as I collapse in exhaustion from all the Reiatsu I've been using, allowing my weakness to become evident so Kamraku is less likely to consider me a threat to be thrown into a prison, Momo grabs me and cradles me in her arms. I am quietly irritated at myself for not rationing my Reiatsu better, and being reduced to being carried around. My last conscious sensation is of her vanishing into Shunpo while carrying me, the wind whipping past us. Don't worry, Ichi-chan. I'll get you to your new division, and then everything will be better. I'll have a captain again and you'll have a nice new place to stay with a whole bunch of people looking up to you, Momo whispers to me as the blackness closes over my eyes, and I allow myself to sleep. Well, I really shouldn't have used Shai Senjixiano Jiku ga Uari Tikai wo Wadashita Senshi Megami, as that is a Bankai with a kick to it, I think to myself. But Kai no Ti no Megami wanted me to use it, so I did. I sit up in the bed I'm lying in, and notice that I'm in a rather comfortable room right now. The walls have simple silk ribbons on them, emerald in color. There are a few pictures hanging on the walls, most of them of people I don't know. I notice that the bed is extremely soft and consider going back to sleep. The sheets are soft silks, mostly some shade of green, light enough to breathe, yet heavy enough to be comfortable. Whoever owns this room has excellent taste. The door is a sliding panel, with a hill painted on it. The calm lake is at the top of the hill, and there seems to be a mirror of someone in the lake. Very well painted, I must admit. I shake the sleep from my head and drag myself out of bed, only to find my clothes vanished while I was asleep. I turn around, looking for them, and see a fresh set of robes and a white haori hanging near the bed. The haori has the symbol of Division 5 on it, and the robes are clearly new ones. My Zanpakuto are hanging from the stand as well, and I head over to gather up each of my blades and get dressed. Once I am in robes again, cloth wrapped around my midsection and the top of the robes left slightly open, I don the haori, as someone went to effort to collect it for me. I could probably pass a captain's exam, and why not Division 5? I tie the sheaths of my blades together, binding them in 11 separate pairs of blades. Azashini and Wabasuk, Suzumashi and Tinkin, Benaham and Kai no Ti no Megami, Suzumabachi and Shinso, Kyoka Sagetsu and Sanbansakura, Sod no Shirayuki and Hineko, Tobiu man Nijibana, Sajo no Kodaari alone, Kaiten Kayakatsu alone, Ruri Rokujaku and Zanjetsu, and finally Raijin Jaka and Minazuki. I sling 7 pairs across my back, 2 straight across, 1 pair on top of the other, 4 other pairs slung at angles across my back, and finally the last pair set along the line of my spine. I set the other pairs at my side, 2 pairs to a side. I now feel sufficiently dressed to face the world, though I wonder why my blades are all manifested now. Momo brought a Sauchi here for you to properly give us form with. Now that you are strong enough, you can afford to keep us all manifested, Sanbansakura explains. I nod, as this makes sense, and I resolve to thank Momo. It costs me no small amount of power to materialize a blade and keep it manifest, while maintaining a shikai and a deadly edge. Now I won't have the problem of it costing me Reiatsu to maintain both blade and shikai, and all I have to do is maintain a deadly edge on the blade. I head towards the door, ready to track down Momo, when there is a knock at the door. Come in, I call. The door opens, and Momo is there with a tray of food. The meal is Western in style, consisting of pork, steak, clam soup as best as I can tell, and bread. Enough energy from that to build me up for another fight. Is the meal alright? I can go get something more Japanese if you want, Taicho, Momo says. It's fine. Would you care to show me around what is apparently my division now, once I finish eating? And have you eaten yet, Momo? I ask her. I've eaten, Taicho. And I would love to show you around. Most of the 5th division isn't here right now, though. They are on assignment in the other worlds, she says. Other worlds? I ask, curious at this term. The world you're from is the main one connected with Sirte, the original Earth where the Shinigami and the Gate 13 first formed. Later on though, other worlds connected as well, many of them similar to Earth. We patrol them to keep them free of hollows as well. Besides that, the Gate 13 covers Asia. Each continent usually has its own force similar to the Gate 13, but we're the oldest force around. We're also the only force where every single captain has Bankai. The Americans have the youngest force. Only 3 of their captains have Bankai, and most of their lieutenants don't even have shikai. We have to meet with the other forces occasionally to share information. Some continents have multiple forces. For example, Europe has 4. 1 in the north, 1 in the British Isles, 1 operating in Greece and some of the Middle East, and finally the last force, covering the rest of the area. The Middle East has its own force as well, so there are a lot of Shinigami forces around, depending on the area, Momo explains. I nod, satisfied with this new information. She continues explaining more about the Gate 13 to me while I eat breakfast, and once I finish, she puts the tray on a table at the bedside and prepares to show me the division. A few minutes later, we enter a room with several Shinigami in it. Who the hell are you? One of them asks. Momo responds for me. He's the new captain, Yamamoto Satechu's great-grandson, Yamamoto Ichigo, she says. They instantly take on looks of pure horror, realizing who they just addressed so disrespectfully. Yamamoto Taicho, sir. 5th Division 12th Seat, Kishimoto Satoshi, reporting, sir. The most senior of them shouts, snapping to attention and saluting. Very good, Satoshi-san. Please, return to what you were doing. My lieutenant is just showing me around the division, I say. Are you assigned to the other worlds? I ask. Yes sir, Satoshi says. We just returned from a 10-month deployment and are about to leave for another 13 months after resting for a month or so, he says. How strong are you? I ask. Most of those here have shikai, sir, he responds, clearly the spokesperson for this group. About 100 Shinigami of the 5th are here right now, he says. I nod. Tell me, what is your opinion of the Central 46? I ask him, wondering if I can get some backup. I have resorted to plan B, fight at the Sokyoku in 2 days, when Rukia is to be executed. Why are you asking? Satoshi replies warily. I still have a human body, due to my father, a Shinigami, having used a gigai to sire children by a human. He had lost his powers and settled into human life. While I was still human, a Shinigami, Kichiki Rukia, awakened my dormant powers, which my father had tried to have suppressed. She is to be executed, even though she committed no crime under the law, I tell him. Central 46 were the ones who passed this judgment. I owe her my life, as she awakened my powers so I could fight the hollows threatening myself and my family. I will pay this debt by preserving her life. Now, will I have your support or not? I ask, ready to draw one of my blades the moment I need to. Sir, you have the backing of your division, sir, all the Shinigami in the room reply. Satoshi heads out of the room at a run, heading towards where I sense a gathering of Ryatsu in this building. I then hear screams of horrible agony from the direction of the 4th division. Grabbing Momo, I vanish into Shunpo, interested in what is happening. When I arrive, I find Aburai Renji running from a smiling woman in the Hayori of the 4th division. Unohana Taicho, my memories from my time as Shibakayan inform me. She has drawn her blade and is casually walking towards where Renji just tripped over a rock. Apparently, she has an interest in tending plants, as I recognize a bonsai garden, a rock garden, several gardens filled with flowers, and also several small koi ponds. Renji is shivering, and I Shunpo in front of him, Minazuki drawn. I decide to invoke the second of its shikai forms if it comes to a fight. Thank the Spirit King you're here, Yamamoto Taicho, Aburai says. She was about to kill me, he whimpers in utter terror. I feel unconscious, and when I woke up, she had her blade drawn and at my throat, he babbles out. He was peeping on me while I was changing, Yamamoto-san, Unohana Taicho says. I was about to exact righteous vengeance, she finishes, speaking in a rather calm tone of voice, and smiles. Aburai is by Momo now, both of them watching us from the sidelines. I match her smile, and dark auras erupt around both of us. I speak in an equally calm, sweet as honey tone. How will he learn if he is dead? I'll punish him, thank you very much, I say. No, I must insist on punishing him myself, though I thank you for the offer, she says, equally sweetly. Aburai and Momo are shivering on the ground, whimpering in utter terror. I suppose there is no use arguing with words. So be it. Unleash the fury, Minazuki, I say, and Minazuki takes on the form of twin fans, both of them larger than normal, with pictures of fire, stone, waves, and winds painted on their edges. So, I must face the true form of my shikai, its form of violence, rather than the form I have used to heal for many years. Very well. Cleanse, Minazuki, she says, and her Zanpakuto takes on the form of a manta ray-like creature, glowing green. I lift the fans, opening them to ready for battle. The fans grow as I pump Riatsu into them until they are about a meter in length, not counting the handles. They are now very clearly Tessen, battle fans. But they are not intended for close combat. No, Minazuki is the ultimate Kido type Zanpakuto. I focus my Riatsu and will bring one of the fans sweeping towards the manta ray, and flames billow out from the fan, engulfing the manta ray. I start spinning the other fan, and a tornado of razor-edged wind forms, cutting into Unohana's Minazuki. The manta ray swoops towards me, only to crash into a stone wall I raise with a gesture, then I call out a command. Minazuki, strike, I call, and lightning erupts from the clear skies, slamming into the manta ray, which screams in pain. Minazuki, wash them away, and a massive torrent of water erupts from one of my fans, smashing into the manta ray and hurling it back, along with the stone wall that blocked it from striking me. I lift the other fan to block Unohana's strike with her blade, and blow her away with a gust of wind. She lands, and in an instant hurls 10 Byakuya at me, one from each finger. I raise a stone wall to block the blows, then a wall of flame to cover our retreat. This fight I cannot win. I can beat her Zanpakuto, but not her Kido. She is too experienced. I leap back, standing next to Abarai and Momo, and Shunpo away, those two in tow. Thanks for watching this video. If you really enjoy this video, like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification. Don't forget to support and follow the AEthereal Devastation for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story link in the description. See you in the next video. Goodbye.